Welcome to Novel Love Hearing. We bring you hundreds of novel audiobooks covering every genre and every kind of story you can imagine. Action? We've got it. Adventure? Absolutely. Horror? Of course. Whether it's the legendary Uchiha massacre or outrageous tales like stealing Naruto's and Sasuke's women, you'll find it here. From epic series like One Piece, Bleach, Fairy Tail, and Hunter x Hunter, to countless other adventures, our library has it all. Love novels but don't have time to read? No worries, just plug in your earbuds, sit back, and let the story take over. Good listening, and happy hearing. Chapter 1, The Temptation of Returning Home in the 38th Year of Hidden Leaf Village, October. As the Land of Fire is regarded as the most livable country in the ninja world. Especially with Hidden Leaf Village located right at its center. Autumn paints a rich and vivid picture, where golden yellows, reds, and oranges blend into one another, forming a colorful masterpiece. Compared to the perpetually rainy Land of Rain, where wet and cold weather dominates with heavy downpours all year round, the weather in the Land of Fire feels incredibly comfortable. TCH. The hot-headed older brother, who had returned after 16 years away from home like a true man reborn, stood atop a tree on the forest outskirts of Hidden Leaf Village. He wore a standard chunin vest. The caged bird seal. Unique to branch members of the Hyuga clan point stood out boldly on his forehead. His left hand gripped a lamppost like polearm, while his forehead protector. A Hidden Leaf Village headband. Had been transformed into a belt accessory around his waist. At that moment, he was gazing toward the faint silhouette of the tall walls enclosing the Hidden Leaf Village in the distance, viciously finishing off the last half of a cigarette clenched between his teeth in one final drag. "Shu has told you countless times already," snapped Miharu Uchiha, the kunoichi standing beside him, who had accompanied the hot-headed elder brother back to Hidden Leaf Village for a mission report after returning from the battlefield in the Land of Rain. Emerging with a body flicker technique from a patch of bushes after finishing her bathroom break, she leapt up onto the treetop where he stood, adjusting her clothing while nagging, "Yet you still smoke. And even more than before. Don't you remember how many times your stealth was compromised during missions because of that stink of tobacco on you? Why can't you ever change? I always listen carefully to advice." This time known as Hyuga's Shu, the hot-headed elder brother spoke without hesitation. "It doesn't mean I'll change just because I've listened." Miharu Uchiha, swinging her high ponytail unhappily, pouted silently, at a loss for words. This hairstyle had originally been suggested by Hyuga's Shu himself, and later perfected by Miharu Uchiha. It took off like wildfire among the kunoichi stationed at Hidden Leaf Village's military base in the Land of Rain. Honestly speaking, having formulas to follow sure makes things easier. This trick, inherited from past life memories, had already been skillfully used by this transmigrated hot-headed Hyuga elder countless times over. Every time it was employed, it worked perfectly. Even with twisted reasoning, he'd never once failed. This straightforward young beauty who might have slain dozens of Hidden Stone's village ninjas on the battlefield still couldn't argue against him. Although as a gentle-natured Uchiha ninja who graduated from Hidden Leaf Village Ninja Academy, Miharu had also studied courses such as logic. Unfortunately, Shu played no by-the-book logic at all. "You didn't peek while I was gone, did you?" Miharu Uchiha changed the subject. "Do I look like someone who peeks?" Hyuga's Shu scoffed disdainfully, proudly pointing at his pair of Byakugan eyes. "As a chunin of the Hyuga clan, if I'm going to look, I'll do it openly and honestly. Besides," he continued, "weren't you unconscious with injuries last time, and didn't I bathe and change your bandages myself? You were completely taken care of." "Shut up." Flushing bright red, Miharu Uchiha immediately covered Hyuga's Shu's blabbering mouth. Like a megaphone with no off switch. With both hands. "PFT." Hyuga's Shu pushed Miharu's hand away with a disgusted expression, muttering, "Gross. Your hands are all sweaty. You didn't wash them. You." Miharu Uchiha's head began steaming, her eyes turning red as if she were about to activate her Sharingan. "Wah." Then she burst into loud, dramatic sobs. Naturally, this was just Miharu's usual act, so Hyuga's Shu remained unbothered watching the girl fake cry. Although she kills people, starts fires, and takes enemy heads, she's still technically a 16-year-old girl. Even if it's fair to say she's not quite young anymore. Still, calling her a good girl wouldn't be wrong. Let's be honest, as today's top elite clan in the ninja world, the Uchiha are known for their striking appearances across the board. Men and women alike boast great looks and well-built frames. So even now, while being overly emotional and acting fake cute, Miharu still looked pretty damn good to Shu. She had all the right curves in all the right places, and everything else was just the way it should be. The only real flaw was her old battlefield habit of ripping enemies' hearts out. Which kept sparking headhunting rivalries with Shu. Otherwise, this Uchiha girl, who showed such carefully rehearsed cuteness only around him, was practically flawless. You really are an insensitive guy. After faking tears for a bit, Miharu discontentedly rubbed her face before returning to her normal expression. But I didn't wipe my hands on purpose either. Did you forget to bring any? She turned around, reaching for his ninja tool pouch to check for unused paper. It was my way of giving you a reward, Miharu stated boldly without batting an eyelid. Immediately, Shu's face instantly shifted. He looked genuinely taken aback. Since April of Hidden Leaf Village Year 36 when they were recruited for combat duties until now, Shu. As a clan ninja enlisted by the village. And Miharu. Who participated in the war representing the Uchiha clan's moderate school graduates. Had formed a team fighting shoulder to shoulder for 2.5 years straight, especially after Nawaki, the last surviving legitimate son of the Senju clan and Tsunoda's younger brother, accidentally fell into a trap during a mission and died. Various forces within the ninja world became increasingly tense, preparing for large-scale military actions until warfare finally broke out uncontrollably. During those bloody days filled with sword flashes and blade glimmers, these two supported each other and influenced one another. Most notably, Miharu, originally possessing noble Uchiha aristocratic elegance and coolness, picked up some of Shu's catchphrases and his blunt manner of speaking. Of course, back then both were just cannon fodder and disowned and unwanted by their own clans. Still, compared to Mu-ranked ninjas worth only as much as 5 explosive tags, they had significant advantages. For instance, their squad leader back then was a Takebutsu Jonin who hailed from the Mu civilian background. According to Hidden Leaf Village's standard team composition rules, they were also joined by an experienced Mu Geinin, whose main job was to round out the team as a support player. Unfortunately, within less than a month of entering the battlefield, their unfortunate special Jonin instructor along with that teammate whose name and appearance nobody could even recall anymore successively became cold numbers on the casualty list. Let's go back. It's almost noon already. Miharu stamped her foot and sprang forward, leaping across treetops, followed closely behind by Shu. Do you want to come over to my place for something to eat? Tuki's pancake shop is quite good. Aren't you going to ask Shu-sama? The girl casually replied. I need to report to the Hokage Tower first, Hyuga Shu said. The geezer from the main house also wants to see me this afternoon. Then I'll submit my report tomorrow, she answered nonchalantly, though a hint of disappointment flickered across her face. You should let Oyakata-san know. He needs to prepare some donkey meat. Shu glanced at his teammate with a slight smirk. Tomorrow after you finish your report, we can try out his giant thing again. What heresy? The tsundere girl sped up and landed in front of him mid-leap. Beef is clearly the perfect pairing for Bing. Honestly. I want both donkey meat and Bing. Shu raised his voice. And chili inside too. Not only that, I'm gonna bring some coriander leaves from home as well. You're definitely a heretic. No, you are. As they bickered playfully, two survivors of bloody battles. Offspring of prestigious ninja clans. Landed before Hidden Leaf Village's main gate and joined the line awaiting inspection by the guarding ninja. Hidden Leaf Village. Shu lifted his head, gazing at the two engraved characters on the gate's arch. This was the heart of the ninja world. The Hidden Leaf Village, its most powerful military force. It was also Shu's nominal hometown in this life. Aren't you going to wear that long cloak you usually have on? Miharu Uchiha turned her head while still ahead in the queue, her black eyes shining like stars in the night sky, staring directly at the caged bird-cursed seal on his forehead. This isn't the damned land of rain, Shu met her gaze without flinching. Besides, I'm not one of those shady Anbu hyenas who can't show their faces. Good answer. Miharu truly appreciated her comrade's straightforwardness and disdain for those Anbu hyenas. Sure, people labeled Miharu as part of the Uchiha's moderate faction. But that had more to do with her family than any real stance. In Shu's eyes, Miharu was one of those rare moderates who still thought traditionalists were too stuck up. She clearly held no fondness for the Hokage's secretive Anbu. The detested hyenas all bloodline-bearing clans despised. In terms of actual political alignment, Shu believed Miharu belonged to the establishment faction. For instance, her dream was to earn battlefield merits and gradually climb toward the position of Hokage. In private, she'd often grumble to Shu about those stiff-necked hardheads in the Uchiha radical faction who just couldn't let go of old customs. As for this kind of conversation, which would likely sound treasonous to ordinary villagers, it barely caused a ripple among other ninja waiting patiently in line behind them. After all, hating on shadowy authority figures was practically a bonus point for experienced Hidden Leaf Village ninjas, especially those from long-standing bloodline clans. Especially when it came from offspring of two prestigious Jujutsu bloodline families. Even the administrative ninja stationed at the front gate maintained a warm and approachable demeanor, politely nodding as he took Miharu Uchiha's ninja identification to record the details, seemingly unfazed by the words spoken moments ago. As the saying goes, wherever there are people, There's a giant, martial world, waiting beneath the surface. And naturally, wherever there was giant, there would inevitably be conflict. Even the Hidden Leaf Village, known for emphasizing unity and the will of fire, was no exception. In Hyuga's Shu's eyes, the Leaf's so-called unity and high morals were the perfect example of the saying, people always trumpet what they lack the most. Even among the various ninja clans belonging to the Hokage's faction, anyone with even a little sense or concern for their kin would never favor that shadow dweller, the Hokage's second-in-command, who had gained a notorious reputation for dissecting others' every word and action with relentless suspicion and disdain. Chapter 2, a bit of trash talk tomorrow afternoon? Tomorrow afternoon. With perfect timing, the two confirmed their meeting time and then parted ways. Miharu Uchiha leaped across rooftops along the streets back toward the Uchiha compound. After all, Hidden Leaf Village's military police force was under the control of the Uchiha clan. Within Hidden Leaf Village's jurisdiction, as long as she wasn't committing public murder or arson, no one could do anything about her actions. Meanwhile, Hyuga swung the lamppost in his hand lazily as he made his way toward the Hokage Tower. This lamppost-shaped weapon was actually the medium through which Shu used his abilities. Weapon Master, as he silently chanted those words in his mind, a semi-transparent interface only visible to him appeared over his left eye. In this semi-transparent display, from left to right, were displayed Shu's avatar, level, red bar, health, blue bar, chakra reserves, equipment panel, and shop menu. The area originally meant for attributes. Just to the left of his avatar. Remained completely grayed out without showing any content. Whether it was undetectable or just another bug caused by an underdeveloped system remained unknown. Resurrection wasn't even an option. Before he lost the game, cursed the god-awful designers, and got taken away by divine misfortune in the form of a truck accident, Shu's former self had been reviewing the updated hero datasheets for League of Legends. So after he got totally wiped out in the game, whether due to fate or some short-sighted deity's favor, he reincarnated with the very system. The Weapon Master skill template. He had cherished most, along with the League of Legends item shop. The so-called Weapon Master skill template, as its name suggests, meant he inherited Jax's core abilities, League of Legends, +2 summoner spells. Flash and Smite. That could be used immediately without requiring any skill points to unlock. And why would someone pick Smite when playing top lane? Actually, that's quite normal. Bronze-ranked games are full of role disputes from the moment heroes are picked, and sometimes people switch roles mid-game. No need to act surprised. However, for some unknown reason, aside from those two skills he retained from his past life, Shu found himself completely unable to modify them. All other summoner spells remained dimmed and unselectable. Back when he was young, still at hero level 0, Shu once tried farming experience by killing small animals like chickens, ducks, geese, and fish, only to find it completely useless. Killing them didn't grant any experience to level up or gold to buy items. Not even a single coin. Even the so-called game system lacked a pay-to-win function. What a disgrace for Honor of Kings developer, Tencent. In other words, during his childhood, aside from the passive ability, Merciless Combo, built into his hero panel. Which granted minor bonuses while using the branch family's castrated, modified version of the Gentle Fist. This so-called game system was practically useless. At that time, Hyuga Shu had thought that the so-called system, which lacked even a basic voice assistant or question-answering function, must have been broken. After repeatedly failing to master the Gentle Fist technique, he was even ready to give up entirely, retreating home to live out his days idly, hoping only to be assigned some poor soul from the branch house to marry, and then produce another equally useless child. However, after being forcibly conscripted into military service, Shu suddenly noticed something strange. After using Smite to kill a dying Rain Village Chunin, the experience bar. Which had remained completely stagnant for over a decade. Leapt all the way to level 1. Even the coin count displayed at the shop entrance increased with a pleasant chime to as much as 21. After enthusiastically spending points on the Q ability, Jumping Slash, Shu instantly felt that this flourishing world of ninja held no secrets anymore. His glorious destiny of punching the 5 Kage and kicking the Otsutsuki clan seemed just around the corner. Yet, the cruelty of war far exceeded what Shu had imagined, and soon shattered all his dreams. Ninja warfare consisted of long, tedious probing maneuvers before delivering a sudden decisive blow. And once executed, they never stayed around. At the time, Shu was merely a lowly scout genin worth about 5 explosive tags. He barely had any opportunities to gain experience or collect coins. Instead, he suffered numerous injuries during combat and was forced to use his precious coins to buy healing potions. Once caught in this vicious cycle, he had no chance to level up through farming experience, nor acquire the resources necessary for progression. 2 years into the war, Shu finally scraped his way up to level 5. He'd sunk points into level 2 Q, Jumping Slash, level 1 W, Power Strike, and level 2E, Counter Storm. His build didn't exactly follow any guide, but when you're fighting for survival, staying alive makes all the sense in the world. Otherwise, without anything but an unrefined knowledge of 8 trigrams 32 palms and his bloodline limit. The Byakugan. And knowing nothing beyond the basic 3 techniques, body flicker technique, transformation, clone, Shu probably wouldn't have survived the battlefield at all. After all, this life of his truly possessed nothing but sheer persistence. Now, having barely returned alive to the village, Shu casually tallied his remaining assets, only 102 coins, 1 vampire scepter, a single life potion, and free accessories like the watchtower totem. Essentially, cheap wards. His build might not make logical sense, but surviving the battlefield with it made it reasonable enough. What a pitifully destitute existence, Shu muttered, feeling utterly dispirited. Even swinging his lantern had become a lackluster effort. For 2.5 years at war, Shu had spent most of his hard-earned coins on life potions, while his soldier's stipend mostly went toward forging this odd-looking weapon currently in his hands. An unusual ninja tool, considered strange even by ninja standards. There was definitely a reason behind forging this lantern-shaped ninja tool. During actual combat, when using the hero's skill, jumping slash, Hyuga, Shu discovered that without a proper weapon in hand, he struggled to fully unleash the skill's near-infallible damage potential. So he specifically crafted this ninja tool as an imitation and even learned some basic staff techniques from a Saratobi clan chunin. The enlarged lantern design at its tip was specially crafted for crushing enemies' heads. Of course, due to financial difficulties, Shu's lantern ninja tool had almost no special functions beyond its sturdiness. The only additional feature was that after infusing it with chakra, the fixed small lantern on top would emit flames. But even this required borrowing a significant sum of money from Miharu Uchiha, a young heiress from the Uchiha clan. But speaking of which, ever since obtaining this weapon modeled after the weapon master archetype, Shu, who possessed the weapon master hero template, began enjoying better luck. Not only did his level jump from level 3 to level 5 within half a year, it had taken him 2 full years just to reach level 3 previously, but he also took down 3 Hidden Stones village ninjas who had snuck into the Land of Rain all by himself. Additionally, during corpse searches, he recovered an intelligence scroll, allowing the Hidden Leaf village ninja forces to gain a crucial advantage in a large-scale ninja battle. Therefore, considering these achievements and the fact that both Shu and Miharu were young yet already had 2.5 years of battlefield experience, the Hidden Leaf village field commander Jonan generously awarded commendations and granted leave during the truce phase of the ninja war. What a boring world. Hyuga strolled along with exaggerated swagger. What? Don't you want to return to the clan? As Shu passed by the Hyuga compound without entering, a sudden chakra fluctuation appeared behind him right after he'd walked past, followed by a cold voice. I thought it was someone important. The lantern he had been swinging carelessly slowly lowered to his side as Shu turned around to face the unexpected visitor. Oh, it's one of the main house dogs. You. A fellow Hyuga branch member who had once personally listed Shu's name on a clan's conscription list, Hyuga Ibo, immediately flew into a rage. Do you really find serving the main house so humiliating? Shu grinned widely and fired off a string of mockery before Ibo could even get a word in edgewise. If that's the case, then are you a white-eyed wolf raised by the main house? By the way, Elder Ibo, didn't you know that using Byakugan inside the village is strictly forbidden? I'm not. I didn't. Stop making stuff up. Hyuga Ibo immediately denied vehemently. After all, the accusation wasn't exactly serious, but it wasn't trivial either. Given the Hyuga clan's well-known caution. Or perhaps more accurately, their paranoia. They would never willingly accept such blame. Everyone in the village knew about the unique functionality of the Hyuga Byakugan, and no ninja wanted these little secrets to fall into outsiders' hands. Whether it be human experiments in the basement or today's underwear color choice. As for the humiliation of being called the dog of the main house, he could do nothing but swallow his pride. After all, being a white-eyed wolf really could get you killed. Then how is it that you found me so precisely? Strange, isn't it? Hyuga Shu asked with genuine surprise, scratching his ear with the sharp edge of the lantern on top of the pillar. After all, our relationship isn't close enough for Ibo, one of the main house's loyal dogs, to specifically wait here for me, right? Just happened to meet by coincidence. Hyuga Ibo responded dryly. Do you even believe what you just said yourself? Hyuga Shu chuckled. Moreover, why would such a distinguished man as Ibo ignore the indulged masters of the main house just to seek out someone like me, a discarded member of the clan? Don't tell me you think I'm easy to fool? Or perhaps the main house has invited me over just to execute me and keep me on a leash as their dog? No way. No way. Could it be that my beloved cousin Ibo actually fears I'll steal your scraps? Faced with Hyuga Shu's barrage of mockery, Hyuga Ibo's face darkened visibly. Although few people were walking along the road outside the Hyuga compound, broad daylight still surrounded them in this clear world. No matter how angry he became, he couldn't rashly start a fight, otherwise those red-eyed individuals who had recently seemed to oppose the Hyuga might come looking for trouble. As a devoted retainer of the main house, Hyuga Ibo certainly couldn't bring unnecessary problems to the clan. Therefore, family will always be your safe haven. Ibo immediately spoke without hesitation. You must have swallowed a rotten sock. Hyuga's shoe immediately covered his nose and mouth, appearing as if he was about to vomit. Otherwise, how could your words smell so bad? Instantly, Hyuga Ibo's face darkened completely. His fingers twitched slightly at his sides, clearly struggling to hold back the urge to hit him. Without another word, he turned around and left. TSK, we've barely even started yet, Hyuga's shoe expressed dissatisfaction toward his cousin's behavior. During these past years of warfare, he had exchanged plenty of verbal jabs with fellow village ninja. Although each time he left those Hidden Leaf village shinobi challengers seething with anger, desperately trying to match his sharp tongue, they'd just repeat harmless phrases like broken records. Never running off like this obedient little cousin did. TSK, clearly greenhouse flowers don't grow into mighty trees. The younger generation from our family is getting worse and worse. Hyuga shook his head sorrowfully, wearing the expression of someone whose heart ached for the unfulfilled potential before him. He knew quite a few other Hyugas, all born from the same clan, were watching this current scene unfold. Although those lofty masters of the main house didn't care about him, a mere forsaken child, several attentive eyes within the dutiful branch house still followed his affairs closely. Among these observers were both the faithful dogs and white-eyed wolves. Although they certainly wouldn't call themselves that, it didn't stop Hyuga's shoe from slapping labels on them. However, to be honest, any native shinobi in the ninja world who had never exchanged words with those sound fighting comrades was bound to have serious shortcomings when it came to fluency with words. And that shortcoming wasn't something that changed with how strong they were in battle. I am the gyrfalcon in the wind, no one can bind my wings. I fly free across the skies, leaving all my cares behind. Hyuga continued shaking his head slightly as he walked toward the Hokage Tower, unrestrainedly reciting some nonsensical lyrics. No chains can hold me back, I crave a wild heart's freedom. Wandering free, I chase my dreams. No one can stand in my way. The Hyuga ninjas who had been gazing outside the compound at the streets with Byakugan quietly withdrew their gazes, but none of them exchanged any words with others. All emotions were suppressed deep inside their hearts. Even when crying, they couldn't ruin the Lord's mood. They always behaved with politeness and poise, upholding the clan's noble dignity wherever they went. Such rules had long been engraved into the very bones of the branch house ninjas, those who lived their lives in constant caution, especially the loyal servants from the branch house who rarely went on missions and dedicated themselves entirely to serving the main house lords. Therefore, despite how many people might have paid attention, the Hyuga clan still presented a scene of peace and prosperity, appearing harmonious and tranquil like a golden age of harmony and celebration, where rivers ran clear and the seas lay calm. Yet neither the main house nor the branch house could clearly articulate just how fierce undercurrents actually lay hidden beneath the Hyuga clan's grand facade of abundance and comfort. Even less was known about whether the storm would ever strike, when it might happen, or what consequences would follow once it did. After all, the lofty lords of the main house prided themselves on their supreme wisdom, and indeed had never failed in suppressing the branch house. A matter that had become instinctive to them. Chapter 3, Ultimate Enjoyment. Halt. Barked an Anbu guard stationed at the entrance of the Hokage Tower, delivering the standard command with robotic precision. Hyuga, Hidden Leaf Village Chunin, returning from the border camp in the Land of Rain for debriefing and further evaluation. Hyuga gave a formal response this time, without any casual remarks. After all, this was the political heart of Hidden Leaf Village. From a power standpoint, he had to keep things under control, otherwise someone might need to collect his remains later. Unfortunately, Shu's background perfectly fit the admission criteria of the Universal Orphanage, a mysterious institution that accepted only those with truly tragic origins, meaning he probably wouldn't find anyone to collect his remains either. I wonder if Miharu-chan would do it for me. Shu couldn't help but imagine, even as he tried to focus on the moment. Good afternoon, Shu-san. Please present your ninja credentials. The Anbu's voice had unexpectedly softened as he spoke. As a direct subordinate of the Hokage, he naturally understood what it meant when a ninja returned from battlefields for debriefing and evaluation. This self-proclaimed Chunin would likely become at least a Takebutsu Jonin after leaving the Hokage Tower today. After all, during wartime, relaxing the requirements for Jonin examinations helped produce more high-level fighters for the village. Your documents check out, said the registration officer, pointing at the lantern ninja tool carried by Takeku Uchiha. But is this your personal weapon? Yes. Hyuga asked directly, can't I bring it inside? Well, It's not forbidden, but if you carry it, please avoid making any sudden movements that could be misinterpreted. Otherwise, we'll all face some trouble. After a brief hesitation, the Anbu didn't press the issue further. Hiruzen Sarutobi, the so-called legendary Sannin, knew a standard Chunin carrying weapons posed no real threat. Being lenient on small matters like this actually demonstrated the Hokage's magnanimity and confidence. You may proceed. The Anbu handed Hyuga his credentials back and stepped aside, opening passage into the Hokage Tower. Hyuga gave a slight nod and stepped into this political center of Hidden Leaf Village, a building whose shape resembled an old-school steel lunch pail turned upside down. To be honest, the interior layout of the Hokage Tower couldn't be described as luxurious from any angle. In fact, with endless tangles of messy wiring crisscrossing overhead, the whole place felt chaotic and annoying. Yet despite this being his first visit here, Shu kept his gaze straight ahead, climbing slowly upstairs under multiple chakra presences monitoring him until reaching an office door. Knock knock. He raised his hand and gently tapped on the door. Come in. Inside, a powerful voice rang out clearly almost immediately. Hello. Hyuga pushed open the door, only to be immediately choked by thick smoke filling the room. Even in his life, he'd smoked, drunk, and stolen plenty while fighting battles. But honestly speaking, whoever created such dense smoke definitely wasn't ordinary. Oops, sorry about that. The man inside the office seemed to notice Hyuga's discomfort and immediately snapped his fingers with a crisp sound. A sudden breeze rose from nowhere, sweeping all the smoke away in an instant. The air turned fresh and clear at once, light and serene. This effortless display of skill truly surprised Hyuga. Please have a seat. The middle-aged man sitting behind the desk kindly gestured toward the chair in front of the desk with his left hand holding the pipe. Hello, Honorable Hokage Lord. Hyuga slightly bowed before stepping forward confidently, pulling out the chair and sitting down. This middle-aged man with a small goatee beneath his chin was none other than Hiruzen Sarutobi, the third Hokage. Hidden Leaf Village's strongest ninja, who had mastered every ninjutsu in the village, could seamlessly combine 5 different elemental natures of ninja techniques, and carried the title of Professor of Ninja Arts. In accordance with orders from the Commander-in-Chief of the Land of Rain Garrison, I am Chunin Hyuga from Hidden Leaf Village. I've returned to the village to report my service record and undergo evaluation. As he spoke, Hyuga handed over his letter of introduction and related documents. Let me see. Hiruzen Sarutobi put down his pipe and accepted the documents offered by Hyuga with both hands. At the same time, suddenly a wisp of blue smoke appeared beside him, and an Anbu, special ops, ninja wearing a mask materialized next to him, placing a folder onto the table before disappearing in another puff of smoke with a soft popping sound. Hyuga couldn't help but twitch his eyelid. He hadn't even seen clearly how this Anbu ninja had arrived or departed. If it's convenient, perhaps you could briefly introduce your background? Sarutobi Hiruzen cheerfully remarked while flipping through the contents of the folder. He felt quite satisfied seeing Shu's current astonishment. In fact, this Anbu agent specializing in the shifting body technique often pulls these flashy disappearing tricks in front of villagers and outsiders alike, impressing quite a few people. Snobbish aristocrats, in particular, absolutely love this kind of display. Sarutobi had even used these tricks multiple times to land crucial bodyguard contracts from noble families. That helped build Hidden Leaf Village's solid reputation for supplying top-tier protection ninjas to the Land of Fire's aristocracy. I was assigned to the Defense Corps according to my clan's arrangement following the village's conscription order in May of year 36 of Hidden Leaf Village. In July of the same year, I was transferred to the Land of Rain Garrison and assigned as a frontline reconnaissance ninja. Then in February of year 37 of Hidden Leaf Village, I was promoted to Chunin due to accumulated merits. Hyuga summarized briefly. Your mission records and combat achievements are truly impressive. Frankly speaking, even among experienced Chunin, few can reach your level. Hiruzen Sarutobi, who was reviewing the file, didn't mind Hyuga's indifferent tone at all. He read the contents aloud, his tone clearly pleased. In the past 2 years and 6 months, you have completed 29 D-rank missions, 77 C-rank missions, and 3 B-rank missions. And your kill record is just as impressive. He continued flipping through the pages, adding some surprised delight to his voice. A total of 51 Rain Ninja Gainin, 12 Rain Ninja Chunin, 9 Hidden Stones Village Gainin, 10 Hidden Stones Village Chunin, and 1 Hidden Stones Village Takebutsu Jonin. Additionally, 1 injured Jonin from Hidden Clouds Village was intercepted and eliminated. These kill records were also one of the reasons why Shu had managed to survive in the war. Because they generated gold coins. For example, defeating a Gainin brought 14 gold coins, defeating a Chunin earned 21 gold coins, a Takebutsu Jonin brought as much as 50 coins, and defeating a Jonin directly yielded 300 coins. In other words, It equaled the bounty on a single head. Though his weapon master system was notoriously dumb, it had one solid advantage: it followed the reward rules to the letter. Moreover, his idiot system didn't care whether the kills were independent or not, although he suspected that this might be due to him having smite. Experience gained from non-independently slain injured enemies was pitifully low, but the only thing affecting gold settlements was whether Shu himself delivered a killing blow. With this advantage provided by his Byakugan, Shu successfully snatched up early kills in battle during the initial phase of the war, accumulating his first pot of gold and purchasing the most valuable wartime supplies. Red potions. Over these 2.5 years of war, Shu amassed a total of 1,652 gold coins. Aside from spending 900 coins on purchasing the piece of equipment known as the Vampire Scepter, most of the remaining coins went into buying red potions for self-preservation purposes. So after over 2 years, all he had left was 102 gold coins. As for those so-called gear sets, he couldn't find them anywhere in the equipment mall. Whether they'd been removed in an update or not, Shu never got a clear look at the new gear list. He'd been killed off by the god of full insurance and semi-trailer trucks in his past life. Without a guide, he naturally dared not waste resources experimenting. After all, earning gold was genuinely difficult. Orochimaru definitely knew what he was talking about. This was actually the first time Hiruzen carefully reviewed the service record of an ordinary frontline Chunin. Naturally, he felt extremely satisfied with Shu's abundant documented achievements. Although most of Shu's eliminations involved mop-up operations, for a ninja, this wasn't really a stain on his record. Instead, it demonstrated that he could accurately judge situations and strike decisively when appropriate. An essential trait for an excellent ninja. If Shu hadn't been born into the Hyuga branch house, Hiruzen might have even considered recruiting him into Anbu. Hyuga's Shu, a discarded heir of the powerful Hyuga clan who was thrust into battle. Though his strength was merely average, he fought valiantly and possessed excellent recovery abilities that made him ideal for prolonged frontline service. Moreover, his relationship with his birth family appeared strained since the passing of his parents. All this formed Shu's unique label: elite disposable soldier and a reliable pawn in the greater game. What did the great ninja war need most desperately? Exactly someone like Shu. If it weren't for the recent easing of tensions in the Land of Rain, combined with the heavy losses suffered by Henzo-led Rain ninja forces due to fighting on 3 fronts, forcing Hidden Rain Village into retreat and recovery, the frontline commander wouldn't have easily allowed Shu and others to return to Hidden Lee Village either. If you had to find something to criticize, aside from the recorded assessments stating his gentle fist techniques were mediocre and his Byakugan vision range underwhelming, it was his unusually close friendship with a certain Uchiha Kunoichi. However, existing records showed Shu hadn't shared anything particularly significant with that female ninja named Miharu Uchiha, meaning their relationship was nothing more than an intensified camaraderie. More than friends, not yet lovers. Still, Hiruzen Sarutobi had no intention of playing the villain here. After all, both the Uchiha and Hyuga were strict noble clans with rigid regulations governing marriage among members. Eventually, one of these unsympathetic families would step in to break the pair apart. As for him, he only needed to appear at the right moment and offer comfort when Shu inevitably felt heartbroken, thus ensuring the loyalty of this Hyuga ninja. Your resume is absolutely flawless. Hiruzen closed the file with a smile and cheerfully said, all your past achievements fully reflect Hidden Leaf Village's will of fire, the fundamental spirit driving every Hidden Leaf ninja. You truly deserve the title of exemplary Hidden Leaf Village shinobi. Of course, Shu, who had never attended a single class at the Hidden Leaf Village Ninja Academy, had no idea what the will of fire even meant. Yet that didn't stop him from nodding enthusiastically, clearly excited, with tears welling up in his eyes. Therefore, I've decided to make a special exception and personally approve your promotion. After satisfying his urge to deliver a dramatic speech, Hiruzen took out his official seal, stamped the approval form with a loud "kwa," and handed the documents and related materials over to Shu. Congratulations on passing the exam, Shu Takebutsu Jonin. Thank you for Hokage-sama's favor and recognition. Shu stood up respectfully, receiving the documents with both hands, his face still showing excitement mixed with reverence. I shall follow Hokage-sama's example wholeheartedly, dedicating my life until death for Hidden Leaf Village. Excellent. That was an impressively strong reply indeed. Hiruzen's eyes gleamed with delight, thinking that this young man was truly worth mentoring. Go to the 3rd floor later to get your uniform, then take a photo at the Kage Rock for documentation. As for the standard equipment for Jonin, you can pick it up tomorrow. Also, the Jonin class record should be updated within 7 days, and we'll notify you separately by then. After filling his pipe and taking a long, satisfied puff, 3rd Hokage Hiruzen Sarutobi carefully went over all the specific details regarding the promotion. He also kindly approved an extended leave, By the way, since you've been on duty for 2.5 years already, I'll give you a month-long vacation. Take this time to rest properly, and afterward we'll arrange your next mission based on your personal preference. Oh, and here are the materials about the Will of Fire. Study them thoroughly when you go back. Although they were still technically in wartime, certain procedures had to be followed regardless. After all, being promoted to Jonin was one of life's major milestones, and the ninja themselves needed a sense of ritual to deepen their identification with the village. Furthermore, with years of experience as Hokage, Sarutobi understood ninja like Hyuga well. Especially those with complicated family backgrounds. He knew exactly what they needed, and could even foresee what would happen during Shu's time off. However, he had no intention of interfering in the internal affairs of the Hyuga clan. The traditions of powerful ninja clans, especially prestigious ones like the Hyuga, were even stricter than the laws of the Hidden Leaf itself. A rash interference would only provoke united resistance from the entire clan. Therefore, some things couldn't be rushed. He needed to plan out his moves carefully, place the pieces appropriately, and proceed gradually. Third Hokage Hiruzen Sarutobi took another blissful puff from his pipe, exhaling a beautiful smoke ring. Thank you for your guidance, Lord Hokage. Hyuga bowed deeply at a 45-degree angle and said with a slightly solemn tone, I will not forget my original purpose and will strive to earn new merits in the near future. Excellent. 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 Hiruzen Sarutobi was absolutely delighted to hear words like these. To him, there was nothing more satisfying than hearing genuine praise and gratitude from those younger ninja he had personally mentored. It brought him true joy. Chapter 4, The Discontented Dogs of the Branch House. As Hyuga stepped out of the Hokage Tower, he had already changed into the newly issued Hidden Leaf Village Standard Jonin vest. Looks-wise, that dark green vest was anything but stylish. But it still commanded respect from the villagers. After all, a Takebutsu Jonin was still a Jonin. One of the elite members of Hidden Leaf Village's ninja power structure. And fully entitled to bark orders confidently in meetings concerning critical affairs of the Hidden Leaf Village. Of course, whether anyone would actually listen to that barking or if there'd be retaliation afterward was another matter entirely. In any case, with his vest serving as his shield, Shu theoretically didn't have to worry about suddenly vanishing. Especially during wartime. If he were to disappear without a trace, alive or dead, the Hyuga clan would have to assign a new Jonin to battle duty. That meant the clan lost 2 Jonins at once. And should this replacement happen to fall in battle, they'd need to send another one. A downward spiral that could seriously weaken the clan. Still, there were always clueless hotshots dumb enough to think they could take on a respected Jonin. For example, Hyuga Ibo, who stood blocking the entrance to the branch house residential area with 3 clearly capable members of the Hyuga clan. It was obvious they were waiting in ambush for Shu to walk right into their trap. However, in order to avoid suspicion, they hadn't used Byakugan to monitor him from afar. So when they saw Shu wearing the Jonin vest, shock flickered across their faces. A sly grin spread across Shu's face. He held back the urge to start cursing them out and stood 10 meters away, facing off against the 4 fellow Hyugas. Even within the Hyuga clan itself, a Jonin from the branch house held a certain level of status. As long as they didn't provoke authority directly, the main house usually wouldn't dare harm them. They were part of what passed for the upper echelon of Hidden Leaf Village's military structure. Hyuga Ibo and his 3 loyal lapdogs clearly didn't expect this turn of events. Well, if it isn't my oh so dear cousin Ibo, Shu mocked with a smirk. What? As loyal citizens of Hidden Leaf Village, don't you know how to salute a full-fledged Jonin? Guess whoever raised those mutts forgot to teach them some basic manners. And shame. And seems the so-called filial sons of the main house are just masters of faking respectability. While scheming up trouble behind closed doors. Seeing Ibo's face twist into a darker scowl, Shu's grin widened even more. Come on. You're already flipping out? That's all you got? You low-life brat with no upbringing. A vein pulsed furiously on Ibo's temple. He felt like he was about to explode. Ibo-san, for the sake of our shared bloodline, I've shown you plenty of tolerance. But you really don't know how to take advantage of kindness, do you? Shu grinned again. And without hesitation, activated his Byakugan. This was the standard pre-battle stance of any Hyuga ninja. Immediately, Ibo and his 3 followers also activated their Byakugan, assuming the opening posture of the gentle fist. Bang! With a heavy thud, the lantern pole in Hyuga Shu's hand struck the ground, creating a radiating crack across the water-milled blue bricks. As chakra flowed into the ninja tool, the tip of the lantern pole that hit the floor ignited with a flame resembling ghost fire. Due to missing portions within the gentle fist teachings he inherited since childhood, during his 2.5 years at war, Hyuga Shu had constructed his own combat system based on his personal abilities and characteristics. Though he'd yet to face off against any Jonin-level opponents, This was more out of battlefield self-preservation rather than an actual reflection of his skill being limited to Chunin level. As for Hyuga Ibo. Who hadn't left the village in over 20 years. Though his mastery of the gentle fist wasn't bad, compared to Shu who crawled out from piles of corpses, he was still too green. Gentle fist. Hyuga Ibo's eyelid twitched, sensing danger, but without hesitation, he launched the first attack anyway. Which suited Hyuga's Shu perfectly. As long as Ibo made the first move, anything short of killing him on the spot would legally be considered defensive retaliation meant to protect himself. Jumping slash. Fully familiar with clan rules and family laws by heart, Shu didn't even bother activating the skill, Counter Storm, which could defend against ordinary basic attacks. Instead, he leapt forward directly, swinging the lantern pole cue toward Hyuga Ibo's head. Not good. Just as Ibo was about to demonstrate his standard 32-strike sequence of traditional gentle fist to teach this battle return bumpkin some respect, an ominous feeling suddenly washed over him. His sixth sense blared warnings inside his mind without any prior indication, signaling imminent life-threatening danger. Moreover, bang! Before Hyuga Ibo could fully process everything racing through his mind or properly respond, Shu swiftly retracted mid-motion at the last second, switching instead to an airborne knee strike. With a forceful blow to the chest, Ibo went flying backward, knocking down another Hyuga clansman who came alongside him. Afterward, Shu released his control over the lantern pole, letting it crash heavily between the two flunkies. Where the lantern pole struck, another radial crack spread outward from the impact point across the already durable blue brick flooring. If Shu hadn't stopped his attack in time just now, that single blow alone might have blown Hyuga Ibo's brains all over 1,000 trees. To be honest, Shu was rather disappointed. He originally thought such a bold individual must have been a subordinate personally trained by one of Main House's senior officials, but to his surprise, he turned out to be so easily defeated. Though Ibo's mastery of the gentle fist was undeniably superior, battlefield combat. Especially under life or death circumstances. Was fundamentally different from executing missions or participating in family training exercises. One small mistake could lead to dying on the battlefield and ending up as test material for enemy experiments. That's precisely why Shu allocated precious coins to purchase red potions capable of fully restoring injuries without side effects, and why he endured others' scorn while hunting injured enemy ninja for merit points. Thanks to that, he grew from a rookie into a seasoned battlefield veteran, successfully returning to Hidden Lee Village just before the outbreak of the most dangerous large-scale conflict. Those who once ridiculed Shu Hyuga for being scheming yet cowardly, disgracing Hidden Lee Village with their conduct, now lay in pieces. Some scattered like dazzling fireworks from explosive tags, others pecked apart by the puppet, corpse crows of the body disposal squad. If they had unfortunately been born into a ninja clan, there was also a good chance their corpses had ended up as someone's private collection. But now it seems that over the past 2.5 years spent battling on the field, Shu Hyuga's improvement had far exceeded expectations. Compared to those so-called loyal watchdogs who boasted loyalty while lounging idly within the clan compound like pampered pets, Shu had surpassed them by leaps and bounds. Why don't you go ahead and crawl too? Without hesitation, Shu Hyuga seized the moment and kicked both stunned Hyuga clan members on his left and right, sending them flying away. With that, he'd wrapped it up nicely. A 1-on-4 victory. Now that was quite a satisfying fight. Shu teased casually after easily defeating the four. Meanwhile, Ibo Hyuga, struggling to stand back up, flushed even redder with anger. Even though the sharp pain in his chest clearly warned him that fighting with broken ribs was reckless, he still resolved to protect the dignity of the main house, using his gentle fist to punish this reckless outlaw who dared defy the clan's rules. Although Shu Hyuga still smiled brightly, his eyes narrowed slightly while he subtly tilted up the lantern pole in his hand, causing Ibo. Who was preparing for battle. To panic momentarily. Have you fools finished making a racket yet? Just as Ibo found himself unable to back down and decided to grit his teeth and strike, a clear, cold voice rang out unexpectedly from above. Instantly, Shu Hyuga pivoted around defensively, dragging his lantern pole across the ground, only to find a young Hyuga clan member standing atop a tree beside the house. The stranger wore elegant blue robes, a white houri draped over them, with white bandages wrapped around his forehead. It's him again. Shu couldn't help but twitch at the sight, sensing trouble. His sensory abilities hadn't detected the other's approach at all. And judging from where this person stood, he was positioned precisely in one of Shu's Byakugan blind spots. This alone showed that this noble clansman wasn't just powerful. He deeply understood the flaws inherent in the branch house's KK Genkai. Lord Hizashi. Ibo called out joyfully, recognizing the newcomer. This young Hyuga shinobi was none other than the second son of the current head of the Hyuga clan. The future leader of the branch house. Hizashi Hyuga. Though officially all branch house ninjas were considered equal, Certain individuals always held higher status than ordinary branch house members. Thus, Aibo's respectful attitude toward Hisashi was entirely understandable. But what truly relieved Aibo was no longer having to face off directly against Hyuga. It wasn't because he was afraid. It was simply that precious jade should never be forced to clash directly against an unyielding rock. It wasn't worth it. Thinking this way, Aibo felt much better about the whole ordeal. PFFT. Hyuga paid no attention to Hyuga's presence, casually turning his head to look at his elated clansmen who seemed to have found a savior, and couldn't help but laugh out loud. The other 3 clan members, barely managing to rise to their feet, were left utterly humiliated. Unlike Hyuga Aibo, they weren't as quick to brush off their humiliation with mental gymnastics. The harmony of our clan must not be disturbed. Standing above with arms crossed, Hyuga said indifferently. Alright. Elder Hisashi makes a good point. Shu didn't even glance back at the 4 useless clan members behind him. Instead, he turned to face the high-standing Hyuga, lightly tapping the stone pavement with the lantern post in his hand while forcing a smile onto his face. So then, what punishment should these disrespectful juniors receive? Hyuga frowned slightly, clearly displeased. Especially under broad daylight, the sight of Shu's unashamedly exposed cursed seal, caged bird seal, known as the bird in a cage mark on his forehead made Hyuga feel particularly uncomfortable. Yours Shu, correct? Hyuga spoke calmly. I've heard your name before. Although your performance on the battlefield was a subject of some debate, it was ultimately commendable. You and your parents are both regarded as heroes of our clan. Mentioning family probably wasn't the best idea. At the mention of his cheap parents, Shu completely lost his composure. Hey. Shu's face twitched as he could no longer maintain his previous fake smiling act. His eyes grew sharp and menacing. Hyuga, however, couldn't understand why Shu's attitude had changed so drastically within such a short time. Yet before Shu could act further, 3 figures were seen jumping from rooftop to rooftop approaching from a distance. Policing department personnel? Shu expressed some surprise. Uchiha. Hyuga frowned even more intensely. Although Hidden Leaf Village has 2 prestigious Jujutsu clans, the Uchiha and Hyuga, generally avoided direct conflict, their underlying tensions remained. Such open provocations near each other's doorstep rarely occurred. The 3 Uchiha ninjas landed beside Shu, carefully positioning themselves just outside the entrance street of the Hyuga district. Clearly, they weren't here specifically to cause trouble. We received reports from concerned villagers claiming there is unauthorized fighting happening here, the leading middle-aged Uchiha ninja stated coldly. Remember that private ninja duels, ninja-on-ninja combat without official sanction, are strictly forbidden within Hidden Leaf Village. This is an unbreakable law carved in stone. This is merely a sparring match among Hyuga clan members. I think this falls outside the policing department's jurisdiction. Hyuga's eyes instantly chilled over. After all, they stood at the outer perimeter of the Hyuga territory. No matter what, he couldn't afford to show weakness. Have any of you formally reported this incident to the policing department? Ignoring the veiled threat in Hyuga's tone, the middle-aged Uchiha addressed Aibo and others directly. If you have any issues, speak up. Rest assured, the policing department will ensure justice for you. No problem at all. We're just training. Hyuga Aibo immediately denied everything. As for justice? If he had been dumb enough to believe it, he probably would have dropped dead the second he walked out of the policing department's interrogation room. It wasn't that he feared the Uchiha wanted him dead. It was because the main house really could kill him. Good. The middle-aged Uchiha ninja nodded and added, also, remember to replace those damaged stone tiles on the ground promptly. Don't let them ruin Hidden Leaf Village's village appearance, affecting its aesthetics and cleanliness. After saying that, he gave Hyuga a stiff smile before turning back with his 2 subordinates. They arrived in haste and left just as quickly, making it seem like they really had just come over after receiving the report. Hyuga himself was just as confused, since aside from the Uchiha, he genuinely didn't know any other members of the Uchiha clan. However, Hyuga, who stood on the tree branch above, noticed the subtle attitude the middle-aged jonin from the policing department had shown towards Shu. This afternoon, in the main house's ceremonial hall. Without another word, he vanished using body flicker technique. Chapter 5, The Favor of the Main House Skreek. Hyuga pushed open the courtyard gate that he hadn't visited in a long time. Although the Hyuga clan ranked as the wealthiest in Hidden Leaf Village, that wealth mainly benefited the elite of the main house. His home was nothing like the opulent estates or classical pavilions seen elsewhere. It was just a modest 3-story house barely over 100 square meters. Moreover, although the house had both front and backyards, their total area didn't even reach 40 square meters. Barely enough space to fit several sets of exercise equipment without feeling cramped. As for the typical household staff often featured in novels, like devoted personal maids or white-haired butlers, those were naturally luxuries she could never hope to enjoy. Years of neglect had turned the front yard into a jungle of weeds nearly reaching Shu's shoulders. Hidden within them thrived snakes, rats, and countless creepy crawlies. Perhaps, from these resilient creatures' perspective, it was Shu himself who had become the true outsider after staying away for 2.5 years. As he opened the door, a musty smell hit his face immediately, as if reminding him how long this place had remained uninhabited. Since Shu was volunteered for the war, he hadn't returned once to this cold, unwelcoming home. Stepping inside, each footfall stirred up clouds of dust swirling through the air. He glanced down at his sandals, their open toes coated in dust, then looked up at the thick layer of grime covering everything indoors. A complex mix of emotions welled up inside him. Sigh. After exhaling softly, Shu walked further in. On the wall of the first-floor living room hung black and white portraits of his birth parents from this life. Below the photos stood a dining table holding 2 bowls repurposed as incense burners. Sticks left from burned-out candles were now tangled in spider webs. Though such a setup went against traditional mourning customs practiced in Hidden Leaf village, for the solitary Shu, this was the only gesture he could offer. In this life, his biological father supposedly died heroically during the final days of the First Great Ninja War while carrying out a top-secret mission for the clan. His mother passed away a year later, unable to bear her grief. A story repeatedly told to young Shu by those clan members, especially branch house instructors at the Hyuga Public Ninja Academy. Unlike other orphaned Hyuga children who were too young to remember much, Shu retained clear memories thanks to his consciousness spanning 2 lifetimes. He could still recall vividly how several branch house ninjas had come knocking when he was just 3, taking his father away forever. Had it not been for his speech delays caused by conflicting language habits across his 2 lifetimes, Shu probably would have escaped the ideological indoctrination at the public academy much earlier. Besides, historical record showed clear contradictions. His so-called father had merely been an ordinary chunin until his death. What important mission could he possibly have carried out? The official story was nothing short of an outright insult to Shu's intelligence. When had the First Great Ninja War even taken place? He hadn't been born until 6 months after the ceasefire. Even worse, despite such obviously flawed historical accounts filled with inconsistencies, the clan actually expected people like him. Those subjected to the same ideological indoctrination in the public academy. To feel grateful and honored. Such generosity weighed heavier than even the favors of the Hokage, village leader, himself. Phew. Hyuga Shu exhaled slowly. Then he raised his hand and sent a gentle fist aura sweeping through the air, clearing away all the dust from the memorial portrait. If he wanted to settle in for daily living here, he would need to start with a big cleanup. After busying himself through noon, Shu felt too lazy to cook. The Hyuga clan had prohibited members from opening restaurants or other food businesses within the compound to maintain cleanliness. For independent ninja like Shu who lived alone and felt too lazy to cook, they had to go outside the clan's territory to the commercial district if they wanted a decent meal. After weighing his options, Shu decided it was easier just to take 1 military rations pill. A1 military rations pill followed by a pot of warm water settled into his stomach, soon bringing on that familiar feeling of fullness mixed with nausea. He gently rubbed his stomach, reminiscing about this sensation that had accompanied him for 2.5 years. Then he changed into his standard Jonin vest and slowly walked out the door toward the main house's mansion. Compared to Shu's extremely shabby single-family residence, the main house truly was a magnificent hall showcasing the pinnacle of the clan's architectural craftsmanship. Pavilions and terraces rose elegantly, each step revealing a new view, one after another, leaving no time to take it all in. Even the branch house servants moving around the main house estate wore fine silk garments embroidered with exquisite patterns, making Shu look especially drab by comparison. Guided by a servant, Shu reached a small room outside the main house's ceremonial hall and sat down quietly to await the summons from the main house elder. But he waited. Nearly 4 hours passed, and judging by the time, the sun would probably set soon. Yet Shu still maintained his usual pose of eyes closed pretending to sleep, as calm as a monk showing no sign of impatience. He wasn't sure if the main house elders had just been caught up in clan affairs and forgotten all about him, or if they were trying to teach this newly promoted branch house Jonin a quiet lesson. But for him, this amount of waiting meant nothing. After all, during wartime, he once stayed submerged in swamp water using only a reed tube to breathe while stalking an injured enemy ninja throughout the entire day. Another half-hour passed. Whether the main house elders had finally wrapped up their work or decided the warning had gone on long enough, a servant finally arrived at the small room where Shu was waiting and called out politely, "Shu-san, the clan leader is ready to see you now." Shu slowly stood up, yawned widely while stretching his arms before walking leisurely outside. Though the servant thought Shu's attitude carried some disrespect, as a main house attendant, he already knew about the sparring incident that happened at the clan compound's edge that morning. Naturally, he wasn't willing to provoke this troublesome clan member, so he politely quickened his pace ahead to guide Shu toward the ceremonial hall where the main house received guests. The clan leader, Branch House's Shu has arrived. The servant motioned for Shu to wait at the entrance, then softly knocked on the sliding door, reporting quietly, "Let him come in." A deep, powerful voice filled with authority came from inside the hall. Immediately the servant pulled both sides of the sliding door open. Shu nodded slightly, then strode in confidently. He didn't even bother to remove his ninja sandals. The messenger's eyelid twitched, but he couldn't say anything in front of the Hyuga clan leader and the group of elders. He could only watch with a tingling scalp as Hyuga's Shu walked step by step into the reception hall and took his seat. Before the low table at the center of the hall sat the current clan leader of the Hyuga clan. On his left side was his heir, Hisashi Hyuga. Additionally, 8 elders were seated on both sides. As for Hisashi Hyuga, who was also the son of the clan leader but had fallen into the branch house, he stood like a post in the back corner. Seeing Hyuga's Shu enter, the dignified Hyuga clan leader pointed toward the cushion across from him, signaling Hyuga's Shu to sit down. Hyuga's Shu, drink some tea. Without another word, the clan leader personally poured a cup of tea and pushed the saucer toward Hyuga's Shu. "Thank you for your generosity, clan leader." Hyuga's Shu bowed slightly, then calmly chugged the scalding tea in one go. A good cup of tea deserves more than just one sip. No sooner had he set the cup down than the clan leader filled it again. Without a word, Hyuga's Shu continued chugging the scalding tea. Third round. This time, Hyuga's Shu simply flicked his finger, sending the cup and its contents flying with a single snap. "What exactly are you implying?" The clan leader froze mid-pour, his hand holding the teapot suspended halfway in the air. His once gentle and refined face instantly turned dark and menacing. The 8 elders also looked shocked, followed by countless invisible presences locking on to the disrespectful Hyuga's Shu from afar. Clearly, this seemingly peaceful reception hall wasn't merely hosting a gathering of an old clan leader, his sons, and aged elders playing house. Hidden within were already numerous elite warriors lying in wait. Hyuga's Shu certainly didn't believe such a setup was actually meant for him. However, precisely because this was the standard protective detail the clan leader usually maintained, it caused even greater contempt to rise within him. 3 strikes and you're out. Hyuga's Shu's voice carried a slight hoarseness. Even a ninja feels the burn of boiling water. Have you truly forgotten the difference between main and branch house? Slowly setting down the teapot, the clan leader stared straight into Hyuga's Shu's cold expression and said, "Or perhaps you think this attire of yours grants you the right to defy the will of our family. Well then I'd like to ask, head of the family, what exactly is the family's will?" A grin stretched across Hyuga's Shu's lips, though his eyes narrowed into slits. At the same time, he prepared himself to use the flash skill. Is it really true, then, that from the lofty perspective of the main house, the branch house ninjas are no different than weeds beneath your feet? Unworthy of even a glance? These words weren't entirely wrong, but they shouldn't be spoken so openly. After all, according to certain naive elders within the branch house, the main house and branch house coexisted in perfect harmony, like respectful older and younger brothers. Both bar heavy historical burdens for the continuation of their clan. You came to meet me, and you waited so long too. As the head of the household, I should indeed feel pleased. The clan leader's expression softened slightly as he spoke leisurely. However, I'm not fond of your tone at all. Even Hisashi Hyuga standing in the corner felt startled upon hearing his father speak in such a way. In his memory, this was the telltale sign before activating the caged bird, Tenketsu, curse seal against the branch house. Just thinking about the pain caused by the caged bird curse made even Hisashi Hyuga, the clan leader's son, shudder involuntarily. Yet Shu Hyuga still sat upright with perfect posture, fearlessly fixing his gaze on the clan head who wielded both thunderstorms and sunlight at his own discretion. For branch house ninja, the main house leader's authority was unquestionably more daunting than even the village's Kage. After all, the main house held absolute control over their emotions, destinies, and very survival. All of this stemmed from the clearly visible caged bird, Tenketsu, cursed seal exposed on Shu Hyuga's forehead. Relax a bit. The Hyuga clan leader's expression suddenly changed. The stern look that had clouded his face moments earlier rapidly dissolved like morning frost under bright sunshine, replaced by warmth and friendliness. Meanwhile, sitting beside him, Hisashi Hyuga frowned instead. I know many in the branch house harbor great resentment toward the main house. But the main house has never cared. Though his expression remained warm and kind, the clan leader's tone carried unmistakable condescension. His voice carried effortlessly through the reception hall, subtly showcasing his enduring vitality and deep-rooted strength. As the main house bearing the crucial responsibility of inheriting our clan's most precious Genkai, we are destined to shoulder resentments from narrow-minded individuals. This is the main house's natural duty. With this remark, the clan leader had directly addressed Hyuga's demeanor issue, clearly indicating that he considered him one of those narrow-minded individuals. Everyone can be sacrificed for the inheritance of our clan's Genkai. This applies not only to the branch house but also to the main house. The Hyuga clan leader continued, however, Hyuga, you're still young with a long future ahead. Don't let your limited perspective confine you within household prejudices. Broaden your horizons and view issues from the clan's overall perspective. Faced with this lecture, Hyuga's Shu remained silent. Sigh. The Hyuga clan leader shook his head with disappointment. You young people never learn until you hit a wall and come out bloody. Hisashi Hyuga standing in the back corner immediately felt his heart race. Was he about to activate the caged bird, Tenketsu, curse seal right here and now to teach Hyuga an unforgettable lesson? I remember your gentle fist techniques aren't that strong. How many palms have you practiced up to? Unexpectedly, the Hyuga clan leader then changed topics. 32 palms. Hyuga replied slowly. Is that so? Frankly speaking, your current gentle fist cultivation doesn't match your status. The clan leader appeared even more helpless, like a senior lamenting unfulfilled potential. Well then, considering you've fought for the clan for 2.5 years, I'll overlook your negligence regarding gentle fist training. This time, however, left Hisashi Hyuga and Hisashi Hyuga genuinely perplexed. Hisashi. The clan leader called out without turning his head. Clan leader. Instantly emerging from the corner through body flicker technique, Hisashi Hyuga knelt on one knee across from Hisashi Hyuga, paying respects to his father, the clan head. You will take charge of training Shukan's gentle fist techniques. The Hyuga clan leader's words astonished everyone present, including Elder 8. Understood. Understood, Hyuga clan leader. Though slightly puzzled by the order, Hisashi complied loudly. That's enough for today, the clan leader declared as he stood. Looking down at Shu with an air of superiority, he continued, Shu, you've worked hard today as well. Get some good rest. Once you've recovered in a few days, start studying the gentle fist seriously with Hisashi's guidance. As a Hyuga ninja, resorting to such crude weapons is absolutely unacceptable. You need to fix this right away. Shu remained silent, bowed, and then excused himself. Only after stepping out of the main house's ceremonial hall did Shu realize just how soaked his compression undershirt had become beneath the jonin flak vest. A slight breeze sent a chill through the damp fabric. Shivering instinctively at the cold sensation on his skin, Shu didn't look back as he walked away from the main house. Chapter 6, A Maturity Against One's Will. Father. After Hyuga's Shu had left, everyone in the reception hall finally lowered their Byakugan gaze. Yet Hisashi Hyuga, as the legitimate eldest son, couldn't help but wonder why his father had acted this way. The 8 elders and Hisashi Hyuga turned their gazes toward the calm and composed Hyuga clan leader. Hisashi, what do you think of him? The clan leader didn't answer his legitimate eldest son's question. Instead, he turned to his second son and asked, tell me. He is, after all, a jonin from the branch house, and it will be your duty to supervise him. He's a narrow-minded fool, Hisashi replied vaguely, unsure of his father's true intentions. Wrong. The clan leader shook his head repeatedly. Our Shu is even more arrogant and refuses to be dominated by anyone. Even more than his own father did. Upon hearing this, the 8 elders who were well aware of the truth remained expressionless, while Hisashi and Hisashi exchanged surprised glances. According to official reports, Shu's father had died on a top-secret mission. But now, based on the clan leader's tone, it seemed there was another hidden story. Come to think of it, battlefield experience really does shape a person, the clan leader mused with a sigh. Besides, back then, none of us expected that the overrated fool could actually produce such a decent descendant. All of this is due to the grace of our clan leader. Otherwise, this descendant of a rebel would have long since vanished without a trace. With the arrival of winter, one elder who knew the secret flattered respectfully. After hearing these words, Hisashi and Hisashi understood part of the hidden truth. Judging from what they heard, Shu's father must have been a descendant of the rebellious faction within the branch house. An ideological trend that had continuously emerged throughout history without end, impossible to fully eliminate. Of course, this alleged faction wasn't an actual organized group within the clan, nor did it follow any strict code of conduct. It was simply a label the main house placed upon any members of the branch house who resisted the deeply rooted hierarchy between the main and branch houses. In reality, nearly all members of the branch house, especially those with real talent, had at least some rebellious thoughts. However, they ultimately chose submission when faced with the overwhelming power of the era and the crying mouths needing care at home. Once they had weaknesses, Those once rebellious spirits of the branch house were naturally worn down by daily trivialities, transforming into ordinary ninja who constantly compromise their principles. Precisely what the main house desired. Therefore, theoretically, every member of the branch house might be or at least once may have been a rebel during their youth, only choosing submission after realizing the relationship between the clan and themselves and facing the harsh reality of having no support either internally or externally. Shu's father had simply become the scapegoat. A warning example meant to silence dissent before it spreads. After grasping the complex truth behind these matters, both Hayashi and Hizashi brothers sharply inhaled in shock. This also sufficiently explained why Hyuga would dare to stare directly at the clan leader, even knowing the risk to his life. It indicated that he might have already discerned the truth hidden beneath the clumsy lies and harbored deep resentment toward the main house. Yet it made no sense for the Hyuga clan leader not only to refrain from punishing him but instead to assign Hizashi Hyuga to teach the true depth of the gentle fist to someone who was obviously a member of the rebellious faction. "You two are still too young," the crafty Hyuga clan leader remarked. Seeing the expressions on his two sons' faces, he understood their thoughts and shook his head with a touch of disappointment. "Which do you think poses a greater threat? An invisible, cunning snake lying in wait, or a barking, posturing dog?" "A snake." Hayashi hesitated for a moment, seemingly beginning to grasp his father's meaning. "If Shu had knelt before me today with utmost reverence, we'd need to assign another jonin from our official ninja roster for battle deployment." The clan leader slightly adjusted his robe and strode toward the inner chambers while saying something that sounded contradictory. "As head of the family, you've got to have patience. Only when you truly accept this can you become a worthy heir to the clan." In truth, the Hyuga clan leader had long understood the sorrow and frustration within the hearts of the branch house members. Yet for the sake of the clan's continuity, he wouldn't recklessly alter these fundamental ancestral laws that had been passed down for over 1,000 years. Laws that had accompanied the Hyuga clan through countless rises and falls while safeguarding the family from annihilation. Furthermore, due to the absolute dominance of the caged bird seal over the branch house, he simply dismissed the complaints of these beaten dogs. Compared to defeated dogs lashing out in rage, however, he remained highly vigilant against those venomous snakes skilled at hiding their true intentions. After all, people inevitably let their guard down sometimes, and if such a deceitful serpent managed to hide right beside him, no one could predict when it might strike with lethal intent. Better to eliminate them early and be done with it. When he reached the corridor behind the screen, the Hyuga clan leader paused and turned toward his second son, Hizashi Hyuga. "Once you inherit leadership of the branch house, you will encounter many like Shu. But you must learn how to handle a dog always growling and venting dissatisfaction. It is through managing such individuals that you can better serve the main house." "As you command." Hizashi respectfully bowed, even more obediently than when Shu had departed. However, if branch house ninja were merely dogs, then what did that make him? The clan leader's second son. Entrusted with overseeing the branch house? Thinking of this left Hizashi feeling extremely suffocated inside. Returning home, Hyuga sat cross-legged in the main hall, silently staring at the portraits of his late parents for a long time. It wasn't until the first rays of dawn poured into the hall the next morning that Shu finally snapped out of his dazed, meditative state. He rose slowly, deeply bowed to the ancestral portraits on the wall, replaced the incense and fruit offerings, and only afterward resumed attending to his daily affairs. Because he was so young at the time of his rebirth, Shu remembered clearly what had happened during his childhood. To be honest, memories from his previous life carried more weight. After their passing, he basically lived a hard life sustained only by meager family pensions and relief funds, not knowing the feeling of being full until heading into battle. So truthfully speaking, his feelings toward his parents in this life weren't particularly deep. But now that he truly occupied the body of a legitimate blood heir, there were certain things he needed to inherit and bear, no matter how much conspiracy lay hidden behind these ancestral grudges and emotional entanglements. Although this meeting with the main house was equally perilous. After all, the clan leader's unintentional killing intent was again genuinely chilling. As long as he wasn't directly executed on the spot, Sashu, as a newly promoted jonin, could feel momentarily relieved. He had successfully established his persona. A crude, unrefined, and shallow-minded youngster from the Hyuga clan. "Guess I called it." Shu finally exhaled the long-held breath he couldn't even remember holding. To the main house, branch members like Shu were nothing new. Individuals possessing slight talent but obviously mismatched ambition, easily readable and utterly shallow. There was no real interest in dealing with them seriously. After all, not everyone considered a vicious, barking dog to be a threat. Moreover, keeping someone like Sashu around could, to some extent, demonstrate the main house's generosity of spirit. As long as his actions didn't provoke their ultimate taboos. Interestingly, someone seemingly defiant yet shallow, and with just enough strength like Sashu might even arouse the desire of those above to tame him. If so, Sashu might turn the situation to his advantage. Chapter 7, A Bizarre Awakening. After stretching his stiff and aching muscles from sitting too long, Hyuga resumed tidying up the house. Once he had cleared all the weeds and insects from both the front and backyard, Hyuga carefully took out some special plant seeds collected in the land of rain from his ninja tool pouch. Special meaning they looked edible and non-poisonous. And scattered them across the yard. After watering and fertilizing them, he finally finished around 10 o'clock in the morning. He then changed into casual clothes and headed out to find something to eat. You're being far too idle for a ninja. However, there's always someone who ruins the mood. For example, Hyuga, standing alone by the side of the path leading to Hyuga's house like a lonely stray dog. Ever heard of the ninja's 3 taboos? Hyuga responded while locking the door. What do you mean by that? Hyuga asked, frowning. He originally thought Shu, a branch house ninja filled with resentment, would be the diligent type who rises before dawn to practice taijutsu and ninjutsu every day, so he came early in the morning specifically to drag Shu along to practice gentle fist together, hoping to positively influence this rather naive branch house ninja through actions. Jiraiya is a lecher, Tsunade loves gambling, and Orochimaru is greedy and bloodthirsty. Hyuga casually analyzed the personalities of the 3 apprentices of the Hokage. Based on their behavior and character, calling them the 3 sins of the Sannin, lust, greed, and bloodlust wouldn't be wrong. But did that stop them from becoming legendary Sannin? If even underage ninjas get sent off to wars to kill and burn things down, what's wrong with sleeping in just a little? So the idea of the ninja's 3 taboos is nothing but a joke. You are different. Hyuga frowned even harder. I know, Shu didn't feel like arguing about teacher-disciple relationships, talent, or background anymore, especially since it was already past 10, and if they kept chatting aimlessly, it would soon be noon. But I've spent 2.5 years enduring life on the battlefield. I deserve to relax a bit now, don't I? Besides, isn't the head of the clan going to give me a few days off soon? Does that mean even a hidden leave village Takebutsu Jonin like myself doesn't deserve a few days rest? Just because you live on the clan grounds like walking on thin ice doesn't mean everyone else should do the same. Lord Hyuga, your sense of authority sure rivals even the Hokage's. You. Hyuga almost became cross-eyed from anger. After calmly finishing locking the door and delivering a few final jabs at the clan leader's younger son, Shu ignored the now-mouth Asuka Hyuga and simply walked away. Soon after stepping into Hidden Lee Village's commercial district, he grabbed a bag of colorful dumplings to get something to eat, only to run into Miharu Uchiha, who wore a look of deep disappointment. Miharu-chan? Hyuga whispered beside her ear, bringing the girl back to reality. Although she showed a hint of surprise and joy upon seeing him, the previous sadness hadn't fully disappeared from her expression. Shu could clearly see her emotional state. Here, have some colorful dumplings. So he handed over the bag of multicolored rice dumplings he had bought. Ah. Miharu Uchiha pouted, then reached into the paper bag offered by Hyuga and took out a skewer of dumplings. She nibbled on them like a little squirrel. Tell me, what's wrong? The two naturally continued walking side by side down the street with no particular destination in mind. My evaluation didn't go through. Miharu sniffled and fell silent. Today was the day Miharu went to the Hokage Tower for her annual review and submitted her recommendation form for the frontline camp promotion exam. What do you mean? Has that old fool gone blind or something? Shu frowned, clearly puzzled. In terms of ability, Miharu Uchiha wasn't weak. Though not the top genius among her peers, she could definitely be described as an outstanding rising star. Especially now when skilled ninja were in high demand, honestly speaking, getting promoted to Takebutsu Jonin would have been perfectly reasonable. He said I. Miharu pointed at her own eyes but didn't continue. You mean because of your Sharingan? She spat toward the direction of the Hokage Tower to show solidarity. He could see the logic in that reasoning. After all, for the prestigious Uchiha clan known for their dujutsu, the Sharingan was the most distinctive characteristic of their ninja lineage, the foundation of their strength, and also an elite ninja's calling card. It wouldn't be easy for others to object if they rejected Miharu's promotion based on this reason. Even among the Uchiha themselves, those who achieved status through comprehensive abilities in ninjutsu, taijutsu, and ganjutsu often looked down on those relying on the Sharingan. Now the Hokage was simply respecting the long-standing tradition of the Uchiha clan. Well then, looks like you'll always be a step below me from now on. Shu changed the subject. Remember to call me respected Jonin Shu from now on, understand? Mid-ranking ninja Miharu. Why should I be beneath you? As expected, Miharu Uchiha's face turned red with anger, immediately being steered off track by Shu. Just how far off track she'd gone could be seen clearly from her flushed expression. Oh, weren't you supposed to take Haku to eat donkey meat pies? Maharu Uchiha temporarily put aside her unhappiness and began thinking about their previous agreement. Oh, it's been too long since I came home. The coriander in my backyard grew so wild it turned into something like a camphor tree, definitely not edible anymore. She lied casually while once again offering over the paper bag. You're lying. Pouting, Maharu Uchiha took another skewer of colorful dumplings from the bag and started chewing on them again. You really expect coriander to just sprout into a tree overnight? The soft and sweet dumplings matched her mood at that moment. That's why you're still a lowly chunin. How did this suddenly become related to ninja ranks? If you don't even understand how to cover for your team leader, how do you expect to advance? Joking and laughing, the two strolled out of Hidden Leaf Village's downtown area towards the Uchiha compound. I made plans with Uncle Handfired for 3:00 p.m. However, after only walking a short distance away from the commercial area, Maharu whispered softly. The time is still early, isn't it? She responded casually. I mean, my cat can do a backflip. As soon as she finished speaking, Maharu Uchiha's face turned red again. Flustered, she helplessly waved her hands. Ah, no. It's just that I wanted to ask if Shu-kun has any plans? Not really. Hyuga smiled gently, choosing not to tease Maharu further. He knew she was already flustered enough after blurting out her thoughts. Want to go have some fun? Fun? Maharu's heart immediately quickened, and her head was steaming. The thoughts running through her mind right now. Oh. That's dirty. Fishing, said Hyuga. Fishing? A bamboo stick slipped from Maharu's hand and fell to the ground, shattering like her current mood. Only someone like Shu-kun could end the game decisively at the critical moment. But then. Fire style, great fireball jutsu, a massive fireball blasted violently into the Naha River, where plenty of fish swam about. But none had taken the bait. After sitting there for over an hour and going through countless fresh worms with nothing to show for it, Maharu finally snapped. She abandoned fishing altogether and opted for fish frying instead. Giving those stubborn river fish a fresh, scorching lesson they'd never forget. These fish were really asking for trouble, Shu muttered, wiping cold sweat from his forehead before awkwardly kicking his own small catch of tiny fish back into the river. He hoped to avoid angering the still enraged Maharu even more. Phew. Usually known on the battlefield for her calmness and composure, Maharu now stood with her hands on her hips, panting furiously, her eyes blazing red. As though her Sharingan had awakened. It's okay. Let's just eat some grilled fish, alright? She tried soothing her. Hesitantly, Maharu, who had been pushed past reason by the mockery of these fish, finally nodded. Honestly speaking, the fish outside Hidden Leaf Village were being way too cheeky. They looked half-starved, devouring baits like hungry ghosts, swimming in packs. But absolutely refused to let a single elderly or adult fish get caught. And that wasn't even the worst part. They kept nibbling at the bait Maharu threw into the water until it was gone, then even left the hook hanging there like an insult. So Maharu gave them exactly what they deserved. A fireball. And now the entire family was reunited in charcoal form. However, just as Hyuga was walking across the water to collect the unfortunate local fish. Some charred beyond recognition, others only partially cooked by the boiling heat. Maharu suddenly called out timidly from the shore. Shu-kun. What's up? Shu casually tossed a fish. Half burned on top and half steamed underneath. Onto the opposite bank as he responded. Maharu's voice trembled with uncertainty and disbelief. I think I've awakened the Sharingan. Oh. Huh? What do you mean oh? Now fully alert, Shu nearly lost control of his chakra and fell into the river from shock. So awakening your dujutsu comes from fishing? Chapter 8, The Girl in Crimson. It really is the Sharingan. To most ninja, the Uchiha clan's Sharingan looked dark and intimidatingly fierce. An unappealing sight to many. Yet Hyuga remained unfazed as he crouched in front of Maharu Uchiha, examining her single Tomoe Sharingan as though admiring a rare treasure. Its depth resembled an abyss. So profound it seemed to invite one into eternal descent. It also shimmered like a blood-red gemstone, glowing with eerie yet enchanting crimson light. Within those eyes floated Tomoe seals, swirling mysteriously as if imprisoning infinite darkness and deadly chill, making anyone tremble involuntarily. How beautiful! Hyuga couldn't help but murmur in admiration. Maharu Uchiha shivered slightly, somewhat uncomfortable with his intense gaze. They were standing far too close. And getting even closer. Warm breath from Shu's nose brushed gently against the young girl's cheek, carrying a strange warmth and scent. In this moment, not only had physical space between them shrunk, but their breathing had begun synchronizing, their scents intertwining, creating a subtle and intimate atmosphere. A faint blush spread across the girl's face. She dared not look directly at Shu's eyes, yet unfamiliar emotions stirred within her heart. Oh no. I feel a little dizzy. Just as her head filled with silly, Romantic fantasies beginning to bloom into a vivid daydream, Miharu suddenly experienced dizziness. Her body weakened rapidly before she collapsed unconscious. "You're awake? How are you feeling now?" Not knowing how long she had been unconscious, Miharu Uchiha slowly opened her eyes to hear the gentle voice of Hyuga greeting her first. "I think I'm okay now," she murmured with a small nod. Carefully tidying her clothes without drawing attention, Miharu noticed nothing unusual about herself. No signs that any personal markings had been touched or disturbed. However, she was now moved from the Naha river bank to the shade of a forest. Truthfully, as a veteran chunin who earned her rank through war, it would be totally embarrassing if anyone found out she fainted from getting too excited after awakening her KK Genkai, a bloodline ability unique to certain clans. What troubled Miharu most now wasn't just that, but whether Shu had touched her at all while she was out cold. "I knew it, so I gave you a military rations pill," Hyuga said with a smile. Miharu Uchiha instinctively licked her lips, savoring the lingering taste of the pill she had consumed while unconscious. Meanwhile, Shu's eyes flickered slightly as he lowered his head slightly, averting his gaze from the tempting sight of those crimson lips. "How long was I asleep?" After hesitating briefly, Miharu Uchiha quietly asked. "Only about half an hour or so," Shu responded somewhat uncertainly. "It should be somewhere between noon and 1 o'clock now." "Oh." Miharu sounded a bit disappointed. She worried both about possibly missing their afternoon date because of this unexpected fainting incident, and about having woken up precisely at a time neither early nor late enough for anything clear to do. "Not like I can pretend none of this ever happened." "Did you stop fishing, Shu?" Miharu Uchiha couldn't help but ask. As soon as the words slipped out, she immediately regretted them. Earlier, she'd made quite the scene. Literally exploding at the fish in frustration. Thinking about it, Miharu almost smacked herself for bringing up exactly what she shouldn't have. "Oh right, what's this?" Quickly changing the subject, Miharu pointed at a pile of gutted fish speared on sticks and left out to sun-dry not far away. "It looks kind of roasted. Is this your special cooking method?" Hyuga glanced in the direction Miharu pointed. His normally calm expression softened into a faint smile. "They were roasted by our fire-style jutsu earlier." "Eh?" Miharu blushed once more. "How's your chakra recovery going now?" Shu asked, deciding to shift the topic instead of teasing her further. "If you're up for it, we can light a fire and have a quick lunch," he added. "Well, we could just go back to the village and grab some barbecue too," Miharu muttered, her lips puffed up in a childish pout. Still, she promptly leapt up, picking out a few fish that looked only partially dried before gathering some firewood and returning under the shade of a tree to prepare their picnic. During the 2.5 years they spent serving in the land of rain, moments like these were among the few ways they could relax. After all, in the perpetually rainy and humid land of rain, successfully lighting a campfire itself was already a small but certain joy. Meanwhile, activating his Byakugan, Shu scanned the woods briefly, captured 2 rabbits, bled them out and skinned them by the river bank, cleaned the meat thoroughly, then returned to the campfire beneath the shade using the body flicker technique. It was already mid-autumn, so even with the fire, they didn't get too hot. However, Miharu's face appeared slightly flushed while busily grilling fish. Whether from the heat or something else was unclear. "But rabbits are so cute. How could you?" Seeing Shu returning with 2 cleaned rabbits in hand, Miharu mumbled softly. "Do you want to eat or not?" Shu asked tonelessly. "I do. Give me, I'll grill them." Miharu instantly reached out and took the rabbits. She grabbed a branch, stripped off the bark, skewered the rabbits, and started roasting them over the fire. "What I mean is, since rabbits are so cute, they must be delicious. Too bad we don't have any seasoning. It's a bit of a waste," Miharu quickly followed up with a justification. In the wartime service they shared in the land of rain, the two had always worked together like this. Normally, Shu, who possessed the Byakugan, took charge of hunting and preparing game while staying alert at all times. Miharu, being specialized in fire-style techniques, handled food preparation. Including but not limited to grilling, earthen cooking, and smoking. To transform the raw catch into edible meals. Moreover, due to the complexity of the battlefield in the land of rain, even cooking could turn deadly at any time. During this process, Hyuga had to periodically activate his Byakugan to scan the surroundings for security, consuming even more chakra than during regular combat or stealth missions. Thus naturally, there were no strange arguments like "why aren't you working" or "I'm doing more work" and losing out between them. "Shu-kun." After a while of silence, Miharu Uchiha picked up a half-charred grilled fish and handed it to Hyuga. "Regarding the Sharingan, can you keep it a secret for me?" "Why? Don't you want to get promoted to Takubutsu Jonin?" Shu bit into the grilled fish and said while chewing, "Besides, didn't you previously say, 'I only want to be your subordinate'?" Miharu declared firmly. Though her cute ears had already turned bright red. Fine with me. A rare, bright smile lit up Shu's face. But what if I get assigned to another squad? Miharu became anxious again. Then I'll just kill that squad leader. Shu replied without hesitation. Hearing this, Miharu beamed and quickly handed Shu a roasted rabbit. Oh right, yesterday when I met with the main house, I had some conflict with the Hyuga clan head. Shu said while chewing meat from the rabbit, a bit of blood still staining it. Nothing serious right now, but maybe one day I might just disappear quietly. Is that so? If Shu-kun dies, Miharu actually thought carefully for a moment before lifting her head to stare directly at the glaring blue caged bird, Tenketsu, curse seal on Shu's forehead. Well then, I should be able to awaken the triple Tomui pattern, so I'll take revenge for you. Even if it meant burning Hidden Leaf Village to the ground, I wouldn't care. Such an overly dramatic statement coming from another ninja's mouth would probably warrant visiting Hidden Leaf Village Hospital. Or get a good shock from a lightning-style user. But coming from a member of the Uchiha clan, somehow it sounded perfectly reasonable. After all, Uchihas were always known for their uniquely wired brains. I think that's still not enough. Shu shook his head repeatedly. At the very least, you need to awaken the Mengekyo Sharingan. The Forbidden Eye technique. Alright then, I'll definitely try my hardest. Miharu nodded seriously. I must evolve my Sharingan to the triple Tomui stage before Shu-kun disappears. But what if one day I... Following that, Miharu hesitantly asked. Then the entire Hidden Leaf Village will become meaningless. Shu responded solemnly. Well, Shu-kun can be pretty extreme sometimes. It's kind of weird. Actually, no. It's totally fine. Miharu, playing her usual tsundere act, licked her lips before finally dropping the pretense and speaking from the heart. As for why a branch house Hyuga ninja would know about the Mengekyo Sharingan. The ultimate forbidden secret of the Uchiha clan. For the new generation of Hidden Leaf Village ninjas, merely knowing the term Mengekyo Sharingan was already extremely abnormal. But Miharu Uchiha did not care. At least not now, she had no mind or interest to care. At that moment, Miharu Uchiha was already dazed by the joy of the happiness about to arrive. Chapter 9, Miharu's thoughts. Unlike the Hyuga compound, where an outwardly harmonious and friendly atmosphere masked an undercurrent of mutual wariness, the Uchiha clan's territory appeared quite different. Though each household lived separately in private estates and the ninja walking the streets wore solemn expressions that seemed anything but approachable, even Shu Hyuga, as an outsider wandering through the Uchiha district, felt a unique sense of ease. The Uchiha people didn't seem so difficult to get along with after all. Led by the energetic Miharu Uchiha, Shu Hyuga walked through the Uchiha district, openly displaying his Byakugan eyes and caged bird, Tenketsu, curse seal. Although many Uchiha passers-by looked curious, they remained extremely restrained. When Shu met their gazes directly, they actually made an effort to avoid eye contact. Occasionally someone who appeared more open would simply offer a slight nod before quickly moving on, as if afraid of leaving a bad impression. This feeling was really quite fascinating. Shu found his first visit to the Uchiha compound surprisingly pleasant overall. Miharu-chan. After walking side by side at a relaxed pace for about 10 minutes, they finally met an Uchiha brave enough to come over and greet them. It was a middle-aged Uchiha woman who greeted them. She didn't appear to be a ninja herself. Aside from the Uchiha clan emblem on her clothing, she looked just like any ordinary Hidden Leaf Village villager without that characteristic gloom typically associated with the Uchiha. Afternoon, Andy. Miharu greeted politely while pulling Shu's arm to introduce him. This is my teammate from our time in the Land of Rain. We're planning to go taste Uncle Hand-Fired's pancakes. Oh really? That sounds nice then. Andy grinned ear to ear, immediately adding, well I won't keep you two then. Then she hurried away quickly, as if trying to avoid suspicion or eager to share something with someone else. Andy lives next door to my family. When I was little, my parents were often busy with policing department duties, so I used to eat at her house frequently. Miharu explained somewhat shyly. Yet her expression carried a hint of secret delight. Like a small scheme had succeeded perfectly. I see. That does sound nice. Shu didn't plan to probe further. Still, this was actually the first time he'd heard anything about Miharu's family. Working in the policing department and being always busy implied at least being a captain-level officer or higher rank, possibly serving in some special department within the policing division, whose strength must certainly surpass ordinary Jonin. But with that kind of background, why would Miharu end up getting sent off to fight in the Land of Rain? Considering most Uchiha ninja specialized in fire-style techniques, and knowing how elemental advantages worked, with all those fire techniques, the Uchiha were at a real disadvantage in the constant rain there. However, Shu didn't intend to ask immediately. These matters would naturally unfold in time. What needed to be known would eventually become clear. Mahiru Uchiha subtly glanced at Hyuga's shoe from the corner of her eye, finding nothing unusual about him. She casually shifted her gaze away, her rapidly beating heart finally slowing slightly, though her flushed ears still betrayed her feelings. Though she tried to remain calm, her curiosity and nervousness remained evident. Was it possible that Shu had noticed her subtle hints but simply pretended not to? Or had he truly seen through nothing? Her thoughts swirled in her mind as she tried to steady her breathing, attempting to appear more natural. Yet this inner tension and curiosity refused to be fully suppressed. Oh right, she lightly brushed her hair aside, discreetly covering her burning ears. I really did tell Uncle Handfire to prepare donkey meat. Hyuga's Shu-kun will definitely like it. Of course, Hyuga's Shu replied with a cheerful smile. But there's no cilantro. Not sure if Shu had noticed anything odd, Mahiru quickly switched topics instead, and besides, I don't eat cilantro anyway. Okay then, neither will I. Hyuga's Shu continued smiling cheerfully, seemingly unaware of anything. Then suddenly, as if making a new discovery, he added, wow, Mahiru-chan's hands are so fair. Really? The hand Mahiru had been using to massage her hair froze mid-motion, heat beginning to rise from the top of her head. And no, aren't they just the same as always? No, they're different. Look, Shu extended his right hand toward Mahiru. As if pulled by some indescribable force, Mahiru unconsciously placed her left hand into Shu's palm, apparently unable to control herself. Could this possibly be an advanced illusion technique, Ganjutsu? Mahiru was so dazed she could barely think straight. Wah, your hands are so cold. Then, Shu gently took Mahiru's hand and led her forward, their steps easily falling into sync. Wow, you smell really nice. What perfume are you wearing? And no, I didn't use any. I just took a bath this morning. Mahiru stammered out her response. At the same time, she slightly flared her nostrils, sniffing at her own scent. However, all she could smell was the wood smoke odor from grilled fish and roasted rabbit. There was no fragrance like what Shu described. Nevertheless, Mahiru's previous nervousness melted away completely, replaced entirely with warmth. Thus, the pair walked openly hand in hand down the streets of the Uchiha compound. Even when passing other Uchiha clan members, people merely cast curious glances before nodding and continuing their business. This is the Uchiha clan, Shu couldn't help but remark. Huh? What do you mean? Mahiru's ears perked up slightly, surprised. I just feel that my impression of the Uchiha differs from how the village usually portrays them. Shu tightened his grip on the girl's hand and slowly said, you know, overall the village's public opinion environment toward the Uchiha isn't actually very friendly. I know. Mahiru showed no intention of defending her clan at all. Though she came from the moderate wing of the Uchiha clan and once felt connected to the village because of her family, her 2.5 years on the battlefield in the Land of Rain exposed her to too much death and cruelty. All of this completely changed her mindset. Furthermore, after her promotion was directly denied. Without even being given a chance to take the assessment. She started doubting the village's values and how its leaders made decisions. Mahiru Uchiha's sense of belonging to the village and a Hokage system has now been practically erased by reality. She might have even begun questioning her original choices. Otherwise, there was no way she would have said something as shocking and earth-shattering as destroying Hidden Leaf Village when they were alone together. By the way, how much farther is it to Uncle Handfired's Okonomiyaki shop? They wandered slowly for nearly another 10 minutes. As they were about to reach the edge of the Uchiha compound's territory where the high walls stood, Hyuga's Shu knew he had to say something. Huh? Mahiru finally realized what was happening. She looked around as if just waking up from a dream, her face blushing red, whispering shyly, we've walked past it. Chapter 10, The Gaze in Darkness. As for the actual taste of the famous pancakes from Uncle Handfired's place in the Uchiha clan's territory, it had already become irrelevant to Shu and Mahiru. After all, the two barely tasted the food at Uncle Handfired's pancake shop. Instead, they slipped away to the Uchiha training grounds and stayed there until sunset. Eventually, Hyuga's Shu had no choice but to leave due to the near-curfew system enforced at night within the Uchiha compound. Although nothing had happened between them, he still walked with a light-headed feeling, as if floating on air, and the only thing lingering in his dazed mind was the soft red lips of Mahiru-chan during their farewell. Smells amazing. Walking down a small alleyway back toward the clan's territory, Hyuga's Shu continued savoring that moment of tenderness. Truthfully speaking, in his previous life as an angry construction worker, he'd never actually experienced such a sweet little romance. Throughout more than 20 years in his past life, he'd either been acting alone or dealing with business people. When had he ever played this kind of childish romantic game? Plus, compared with the sweet potato-loving amateur boxer from his previous life, Mahiru Uchiha, who had a uniquely wired brain, could absolutely count as a classic Yamato Negishi-style girl, A traditional ideal of Japanese femininity characterized by gentleness and devotion, despite being the same age as him and enjoying being unusually open and expressive in physical affection. Undeniably, she really was a good girl. What a shame. I should have gone to Miharu's house to see that backflipping cat. Recalling the process of their first date, Hyuga began feeling regretful. In his past life, he had watched countless expert-level how-to videos. Now finally having the opportunity to put them into practice after reincarnation, he'd failed because his mind went blank at the crucial moment. He couldn't pull off that key final move. Truly careless. That said, if he had really gone to Miharu's house to see the cat, it would likely have been some kind of ninja cat anyway. Under those circumstances, maybe hanging out at the training ground was actually more interesting. Sigh. Hyuga sighed heavily with a gloomy mood, listlessly kicking Shozaki along the ground as he wore an especially dejected expression. However, just after entering a narrow alley, his expression suddenly changed. He swiftly used the body flicker technique to dart into a dark corner, simultaneously pulling out a sealing scroll from the ninja tool pouch across his chest with lightning speed. As he flickered to his predetermined position, he tore open the seal on the scroll. Puff, with a burst of smoke releasing from the broken seal, a long-handled lantern pole materialized in his hand. Moments later, a cloaked figure wearing a leopard print mask slowly entered the alley entrance. It resembled an Anbu ninja. Simultaneously, atop low walls on both sides of the alley, two more figures silently appeared. Dressed similarly but wearing slightly different mask designs, they also appeared to be Anbu-level ninjas. So it's these rats crawling out from the sewers. Hyuga couldn't help but frown. Greetings, Takebutsujon and Shu. The leopard-masked ninja standing at the mouth of the alley spoke in an emotionless tone. No need to be alarmed, we mean you no harm. His voice was like a piece of chalk screeching against a blackboard. Rough, grating, and extremely unpleasant. Moreover, it was impossible to discern whether it belonged to a man or woman. Anyone normal wouldn't possess such a voice. Therefore, he most likely had altered his vocal tone using some drug or special voice-modifying ninja tool. Even among the most secretive Anbu of Hidden Leaf Village, such extreme measures weren't usually considered necessary. When did underground rats grow bold enough to show themselves in Hidden Leaf Village? Hyuga snorted coldly. The lantern at the top of the pole flickered with a lightless, chakra-infused flame. We are Hidden Leaf Village's guardians in the shadows. Unfortunately, due to certain circumstances, people tend to misunderstand us quite often. The leopard-masked ninja remained unfazed by Hyuga's guarded posture and provocative tone, continuing in the same flat voice. Of course, if you truly understood our existence, you'd realize we're the ones who have contributed the most to Hidden Leaf Village. Humphrey, Hyuga snorted again. At the same time, chakra from various acupuncture points on his body began subtly surging outward as he heightened his sensory perception to its peak. At this range, there was no need to activate his Byakugan yet. Of course, it was better to avoid a fight if possible. But without the will to stand and fight when needed, nothing else mattered anyway. However, the village's once reliable sensing barrier seemed to have been shut down or completely abandoned. Despite the obvious chakra fluctuations occurring in public, there was no sign of anyone coming to investigate. Looking at the two masked figures perched on the rooftops across from him, their hands were hidden beneath their cloaks, and their bodies emitted faint, mysterious chakra pulses. Clearly, they must have been using some technique to block the sensing barrier's detection. We are members of the Anbu Training Division. We need to talk to you about something. The leopard-masked ninja continued speaking in his annoying, emotionless tone. So, Takebutsujon and Hyuga, please come with us. The training division is just route. Hyuga steadied himself, locking onto the root shinobi before him. Who stood casually forward yet appeared flawless in posture. With his chakra perception. So you do know about root. This time, the leopard-masked ninja's tone finally shifted slightly. Since you participated in the war in the Land of Rain, you should understand how much we've contributed under Lord Denzo's leadership. Root's intelligence error rate has reached 33%. Hyuga cut off the gender-unknown leopard-masked ninja mid-sentence. That's a blatant lie. This time, the leopard-masked ninja became visibly agitated, spouting nonsense like blaming command officers, saying things would have been different if Denzo had commanded directly, and claiming frontline idiots failed to grasp Root's deeper intentions. Hyuga couldn't help but laugh out in mockery. So, I take it you're not planning to come with us? Hyuga's laughter struck like icy water, snapping the leopard-masked ninja out of its mindless repetition. Instantly, its tone returned to the original sharp, emotionless timbre. He began to reach his right hand into his cloak. Since Hyuga hadn't activated his Byakugan yet, he couldn't see the specific movement beneath the loose cloak fabric. Whether preparing to draw a ninja blade or form hand seals with one hand, these were all rather disadvantageous moves for Hyuga, theoretically speaking. About 8 meters away, 2 more enemies stood on the wall, ready to flank him. The chakra flame at the tip of Shu's lamppost burned even more fiercely. Although it still didn't emit the glow of normal fire, from the density and intensity of the chakra alone, it was clear he was already prepared to strike. What a joke. Just a mere special jonin. The leopard-masked ninja sneered again mockingly. Counterstorm, flash, jumping slash. Hyuga's Shu had no interest in listening to his taunts. Instead, he immediately activated his hero skill, unleashing a flash plus WQ combo move. Nin. As the final syllable left the leopard-masked ninja's mouth, Hyuga's Shu had already dashed overhead, cloaked in Counterstorm's protective stance. Then, unleashing a powerful, jumping slash, he drove the chakra-burning lamppost straight into the enemy's left shoulder. Crash. With that single heavy blow, the leopard-masked ninja's left shoulder shattered completely. Following up immediately, Shu smashed a rising knee into this unfortunate bastard's face, sending him flying through the air. Boom. The dull thud of his body hitting the ground from midair made it clear enough that the leopard-masked ninja had already lost consciousness. Otherwise, he wouldn't have landed with such a lifeless, hollow sound. Yet just as this clearly squad leader level unlucky guy got knocked out cold, the thrown weapons from the other two root ninjas finally reached the corner of the wall where Hyuga's Shu had previously stood on alert. But their leader had fallen far too quickly, leaving the remaining two root ninjas no time to react. Shifting body technique. A high-speed movement skill similar to teleportation. Even root ninjas, whose brutal training had long stripped them of human emotions, couldn't help but feel their hair stand on end. They hadn't even seen any sign of Hyuga's Shu initiating his shifting body technique. In other words, if Shu truly wanted to attack, they'd end up no different than their leader. Knocked unconscious. But then again, this was Root. The two root ninjas exchanged glances before pulling out their dull, unpolished blades from beneath their cloaks without hesitation. Judging from those tools, you perfectly match my stereotype of Root, Shu remarked casually. At this moment, the air seemed to carry a faintly sweetish scent. One coming precisely from the location of these two ninjas. Or more accurately, from the special odor emitted by the poison coating their blades. Tell me, are you really going to just ignore whether he lives or dies? Shu asked, raising the lamppost in his hand toward the previously threatening, now writhing and unconscious leopard-masked ninja lying on the ground. If treated promptly, I believe with Root's medical standards, they should be able to heal his injuries. Meanwhile, Shu also turned his head to double-check the man's condition. It had to be admitted that the quality of Root's masks was quite good. Even though its user had already been knocked unconscious by Hyuga's Shu's knee strike, the mask only showed a dense network of cracks without actually breaking and revealing the wearer's face. Root will never abandon its mission. One of the root ninjas standing on the eastern edge of the wall clearly couldn't hold back any longer, shouting toward Hyuga's Shu. Yet neither of the two root ninjas took advantage of the moment when Shu turned his head to launch an attack. After all, even without activating their Byakugan, Hyuga clan members naturally had a much wider field of view than ordinary people. When did Root's dogs become allowed to appear inside the village? At this moment, a new Uchiha ninja slowly appeared at the mouth of the alley. Under the moonlight, Shu recognized him immediately as the middle-aged Uchiha Jonin who previously had appeared outside the Hyuga district attempting to uphold justice during his confrontation with Hyuga Ibo and others. Shortly afterward, another figure appeared on the treetop to the north. A person wearing a cloak too, yet lacking the oppressive aura typical of Root. It was a hidden Leaf village Anbu. Their look is just like Hong Kong cops. Strict, uniformed, and always watching. Shu couldn't help but curse out loud. Chapter 11, Rising Undercurrents. Just as the three Anbu appeared, a strange chakra fluctuation suddenly surged from the treetops to the south. Three Uchiha ninja wearing uniforms of the policing department emerged, standing with folded arms in an arrogant stance overlooking everyone below. From their relaxed posture, they seemed to have been lying in wait here for quite some time. Hyuga's Shu glanced at the Anbu on the northern treetops and then at this middle-aged Uchi Jonin with a fierce expression, feeling as if he'd unknowingly become entangled in a brewing conflict. The two root ninja who originally brandished their blades theatrically now dared not move at all. Considering Hyuga's Shu's overwhelming strength, clearly superior to theirs, the arrival of 4 Uchiha from the policing department and 1 Anbu made things even worse. Though theoretically the Anbu might be on their side, they were facing Uchiha clan ninja, not ordinary shinobi. Who could say whether the red-eyed ones might suddenly snap and kill someone right in front of the Anbu? Root members did not fear death, but they weren't mindless either. They naturally wished to avoid unnecessary sacrifices, especially when the life being sacrificed was their own. Why is the policing department here? Though standing alone, the Anbu ninja aggressively spoke up first. I'd like to ask that question too, the middle-aged Uchi Jonin smirked. His triple Tomoe Sharingan quietly activated within his eyes. As crimson light flickered ominously, waves of killing intent began spreading through the area. At the same time, The three Uchiha ninjas on the southern treetops also activated their Sharingan. Under this suffocating pressure of murderous intent, everyone broke into cold sweat, their bodies stiffened and paralyzed. Byakugan, forced into action, Hyuga's Shu activated his Byakugan and resisted the overwhelming oppressive chakra blanketing the area. He kept his head low, making sure not to meet the eyes of any Uchiha present. His reaction nearly caused the Root and Anbu ninja who were already tense beyond measure to fire shots blindly at each other in panic. Fortunately, they still retained enough sense to realize they couldn't defeat the four Uchiha ninjas here, so they forcibly restrained their impulsive instincts. Does the policing department really intend to start a war against the village and the Anbu? The Anbu gritted out. Are you trying to stage a? But he bit back the words before they could escape his lips. If he actually said rebelling out loud, who could predict whether those bloodshot-eyed madmen might snap and instantly kill him on the spot? What's the policing department planning to do? Shouted the middle-aged Aki Jonin, relentlessly staring down the Anbu with blazing crimson eyes. What is it? Doesn't the mighty Anbu have the guts to finish your sentence? Is it unwillingness or fear? Be bold. Speak your heart out. It's fine. You're guaranteed freedom of speech by the policing department. This taunting caused the Anbu to visibly shrink back slightly. Meanwhile, hearing these unmistakable voices echoing without restraint, people inside nearby homes cautiously poked their heads outside to look around before quickly withdrawing as though having encountered plague-bearing spirits, shutting doors and windows tightly while barely daring to breathe. The Uchiha officers from the policing department and the Hokage Zanbu operatives, who usually had tense relations, gathered together in a standoff that looked like it could erupt into violence at any moment. Who wouldn't be scared stiff? Whoosh! 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 Immediately afterward, 3 sharp gusts of wind blew past as 3 Hyuga ninjas appeared at the mouth of the alley. Leading them was none other than Hisashi Hyuga. Even Hisashi, as the son of the Hyuga clan leader, felt his scalp crawling when he saw the confrontation unfolding before him. Uchihas, Anbu, Root agents, and one of his own clansmen. Moreover, the sharp-eyed Hisashi noticed bloodstains on the top of the lamppost held by Hyuga's Shu. He then glanced toward the Root agent lying motionless in a pool of blood. He felt his head start pounding even more. Except for Shu, whom could he possibly offend here? Unfortunately, there was no way around it. This incident happened just outside the Hyuga district. Each clan had its own rules, no matter how low profile the Hyugas tried to keep. They couldn't afford to ignore what happened near their territory. I should have been more careful. Still, Hisashi regretted his rashness just slightly. He wished he had used his Byakugan earlier to assess the situation before rushing over. Everyone, let's end this matter here. After a brief, awkward silence, Hisashi took the initiative to speak. This place is within the defensive identification zone of the Hyuga district. Please don't cause trouble here. But none of the 4 Uchiha ninjas responded. Particularly the middle-aged Uchiha Jonin leading them kept casting piercing glances back and forth between Hyuga's Shu and the Anbu operative, as if trying to stare right through them. These individuals will come with me. Afterwards, I will provide explanations to both the policing department and the Hyuga clan. After pausing briefly, the Anbu agent finally spoke. In a sense, his words were equivalent to backing down. However, including Shu, every Hyuga present noticed that the Anbu agent's head inside his hood shifted slightly, as though he were listening to something. Maintaining his Byakugan, Shu only needed one glance to notice a tiny earpiece vibrating slightly on the left ear of the Anbu agent. It probably belonged to some kind of real-time communication device. So advanced already? Although most Hyuga ninjas had undergone basic lip-reading training, they still couldn't determine the specific conversation content purely based on vibration frequency from earpiece components. Besides, these communications were generally encrypted anyway. Therefore, after glancing once, Shu deactivated his Byakugan. What intrigued him the most was just how far technology had progressed in this world. And if his memory served him right, there supposedly existed old-fashioned bulky calculators similar to ancient computers in the ninja world. He wondered whether such devices had already been invented. The Root agent standing atop the high walls on either side of Hyuga's Shu, maintaining a sword-ready posture, exhaled in relief upon witnessing the turn of events. Good thing. Finally, someone stepped forward to ease the tension. Humphrey. The cold snort from the middle-aged Uchiha Jonin immediately drew the attention of everyone present. He made a swift move, hurling a kunai with lightning speed. It pinned the Root ninja to the ground. Who had already collapsed. Thud. The moment the unconscious Root ninja was struck by the kunai, a flash of light flickered over his body. Not a trace of chakra remained in his body. This is... Hisashi Hyuga's lips twitched. He couldn't tell whether it was a unique sealing technique or if this unfortunate Root member's chakra had simply been incinerated completely. Either way, it definitely wasn't some ordinary small trick. Moreover, judging from where the kunai hit, His kidneys were likely shattered. Even if he survived, he'd be permanently disabled. Enough. Hisashi Hyuga's expression darkened further. The Anbu ninja nearly lost control and charged forward, but fortunately, the 3 nearby Uchiha ninjas quickly reminded him to keep calm. We're all hidden. Leave village shinobi. Some things shouldn't go too far. The Anbu ninja said slowly. Hey. The middle-aged Uchiha Jonin snorted in disdain before waving at his 3 subordinates. The 3 Uchiha ninja vanished instantly using body flicker technique. The Anbu ninja immediately appeared beside the wounded, unconscious root ninja. Without even removing the kunai first, he quickly applied basic emergency treatment to stop the bleeding, slung the injured man over his shoulder, then signaled the other 2 root ninjas to follow as he left. At this point, he no longer bothered hiding the fact that Anbu and Root were on opposite sides. The middle-aged Uchiha Jonin stood silently watching them disappear into the distance. Thanks for the intervention this time, Hisashi Hyuga said, though slightly displeased with the man's attitude, he still politely gave a slight nod. Just doing our duty. The Uchiha Jonin forced a faint smile. Let's go. Without another word, Hisashi called his clansmen to prepare their departure and signaled for Shu to follow. What do you think of Root? Just as everyone was about to leave, the middle-aged Uchiha Jonin suddenly shouted toward Hyuga's Shu. Root is nothing more than a den of vermin, meant to scurry in the shadows. Once they crawl into the light, the whole ninja world will recoil in disgust. Hyuga's Shu stopped walking for a moment. He thought briefly, then tweaked a well-known saying from his past life. One once used to describe Ballot. And said it aloud. Not bad. Indeed, the middle-aged Uchiha Jonin showed clear signs of satisfaction. For someone so young to understand Root so deeply? You've got real promise. Clearly, you're not heading down the wrong path anytime soon. Thank you for your kind words. Hyuga's Shu politely nodded back. Meanwhile, Hisashi Hyuga shot both of them a thoughtful glance. Chapter 12, The Rules of the Ninja Clan. Come with me to the main house mansion. The head of the clan wants to see you. After returning to the clan's territory, the 2 branch house ninjas who had accompanied them vanished instantly using the body flicker technique. Just as Hyuga's Shu was about to leave as well, Hisashi Hyuga called out to him. The main house? Hyuga's Shu frowned slightly, his impatience evident. It's already evening. Does the high and mighty one from the main house not sleep anymore? Regardless of how much discontent you hold inside, the clan's rules are still rules. Hisashi's face immediately darkened as he scolded sharply, disrespecting the main house will certainly be punished. Shu-kun, you're still young. Don't walk down a path that violates the clan's laws. Didn't the academy teach that the main house should be forgiving and generous? How come it can't even accept a simple concern about sleeping hours? Shu scoffed, sarcasm dripping from his voice. Oh right. People from the main house neither need to go to dangerous battlefields nor execute stressful missions, so naturally they have plenty of energy to bother others at night. Do you even know what time it is? Hisashi grew even angrier. But although the arguing continued, Shu was only provoking verbally. In the end, he still followed Hisashi to the main house mansion to meet the respected and dignified clan leader. They arrived again at the reception hall of the main house. After pushing open the door, Hisashi respectfully bowed 90 degrees and reported to his father and older brother, who were seated by the hearth drinking tea. Clan leader, the branch house ninja Hyuga's Shu has arrived. Sit down. The Hyuga clan leader pointed at 2 buttons in front of the low table, indicating both should sit. As the clan leader's son, Hisashi sat formally and somewhat stiffly before his father. However, Shu boldly stepped forward and directly sat cross-legged on the zabuton beside him. How was everything finally handled? Without acknowledging Hyuga's Shu at all, the clan leader asked his second son, Hisashi. The Anbu took those hyenas away. Hisashi immediately straightened up and reported. Humphrey. The clan leader expressed strong dissatisfaction with a cold snort. This caused his son Hisashi to involuntarily tremble slightly. That reaction also made Shu glance sideways. As the head of an entire clan, actually frightening one's own son like this. There were no words to describe what should be said. So. You were the one who defeated that hyena? The clan leader's gaze then turned towards Shu. Yes. Shu answered plainly. You didn't kill him on the spot? There was obvious displeasure in the clan leader's eyes. The left scapula was shattered, a knee strike to the head caused a severe concussion and knocked him unconscious, plus the parting kunai from the policing department officer when he left. Although somewhat confused, Shu kept going, explaining what Hisashi hadn't had time to report yet. So you probably don't know this. That guy's underlings aren't even allowed in the village, right? The Hyuga clan leader frowned and then spoke to Shu Hyuga. Moreover, if those jackals with unknown origins appear within the village, especially when they openly claim themselves as root members, our ninja are authorized to eliminate them on the spot without legal liability. Is that so? Hyuga couldn't help but feel astonished upon hearing this. Wasn't this the same root organization known for operating outside rules and laws? The very existence of root is a mistake. This has been the consensus among all the ninja clans. At the clan leader's signal, Hayashi Hyuga. Who had remained quiet until now. Spoke calmly. Their background is murky, their movements secretive, and combined with their so-called counterintelligence privileges, they even caused a huge uproar within the village. But how exactly did they fall into the universally condemned situation described by the clan leader? Shu was actually unclear about this particular part. Except for his memories from his past life, most details he knew about Root came from rumors circulating in Hidden Leaf Village's military camp in the Land of Rain. For instance, things like extremely high intelligence error rates, prioritizing missions over their own lives, and even tales about using fellow village ninja as bait. As for actually dealing with them directly, tonight's confrontation was his first encounter. However, Root's biggest problem lies in its privileges. Hayashi continued, once Root gained these privileges by misleading Hokage-sama temporarily, instead of fulfilling their counterintelligence duties, they deliberately abducted certain clan members' children, even causing bloody conflicts and leaving a terrible impression on the village. These accounts roughly matched what Shu already thought of Denzo's ruthless effectiveness in internal conflicts. Of course, this doesn't mean Shimura Denzo and his subordinates made no contributions during this great ninja world war. However, if we weigh their achievements against the damages they caused to Hidden Leaf Village, there was no doubt that Denzo personally had contributed more than the other 4 great ninja villages combined. After all, the future destruction of the Uchiha clan was practically orchestrated single-handedly by him. But honestly, who acts like that? Using the Uchiha while also keeping them under tight control. Even those wishy-washy leaders from his past life weren't any better. But Shu didn't voice anything, he gave no response at all. There was a scandal that broke out after the war began. Hayashi glanced at his father and continued, an enemy spy pretended to be a Root member and actually took away one of the administrative staff right in broad daylight, along with critical logistical documents. Huh? Shu scratched his head, at a loss for words. Who was really to blame? Should they blame Root for being scary and untouchable, or criticize Hidden Leaf Village's security for being totally useless? Fortunately, before the spy could leave the village, he was captured by the policing department ninjas, so since then... Hayashi shrugged slightly, ending the conversation. You had already departed for the Land of Rain back then, so it's normal you don't know these things. The clan leader slowly sipped tea before continuing composedly, however. Since you are now a jonin of the Hyuga clan, you must understand that your true support comes from the family itself. In response, Shu gave no indication whatsoever. Humphrey. For Shu's current behavior, the Hyuga clan leader made his displeasure clear. And this cold snort caused Hayashi standing beside him to tremble slightly. In contrast, Shu remained as cool as a cucumber. At least not losing ground in terms of presence. Stop running around to the Uchiha side so often. The Hyuga clan leader said offhandedly, then looked at Hayashi. Ultimate art of gentle fist, starting tomorrow, you will begin teaching it to Shu. Yes. Hayashi immediately bowed respectfully, visible beads of sweat starting to form on his forehead. Shu-kun, don't think the clan head is just trying to make things difficult for you. It's all for your own good. Hayashi quickly stepped in to mediate. Hayashi's mastery of the gentle fist is quite commendable. It'll definitely benefit you to learn from him. Especially after returning to the battlefield, you can't keep pursuing wounded foes like before and tarnish the family's reputation. The clan leader continued playing the bad cop. I understand. Shu finally responded reluctantly. You may go now. Father. After both Shu and Hayashi had left, Hayashi looked toward his father with a hint of confusion. You're wondering why I'm being so lenient with that disobedient branch house member, aren't you? The Hyuga clan leader poured himself a cup of tea and sipped it leisurely. Yes. And he's been getting too close to the Uchiha. Hayashi whispered, shouldn't we stay away from the Uchiha no matter what? Do you think? The Hyuga clan leader put down his teacup solemnly, if there were no Uchiha anymore, where would our clan stand? Then we'd become everyone's target. As for the ultimate art of gentle fist. At this, the Hyuga clan leader gave a disdainful scoff. Caged bird seal, don't tell me you've lost the courage to activate it? Chapter 13, A Clash Within the Arena's Creek. The next morning, after finishing his early chores, Hyuga opened the door to find Hayashi Hyuga standing there as expected. You got up kind of early today. Hayashi said, expressionless. Early? Really? Shu tilted his head to glance at the sun. It was already past 8 o'clock in the morning. By both ninja and Hidden Leaf Village villagers' standards, this wasn't particularly early. So you think I'm complimenting you? Hayashi kept his face tight and serious. Isn't that exactly what you're doing? Shu's face displayed a deliberately exaggerated expression of surprise. Let's go. Training field number 4 in the Hyuga district. Hisashi didn't want to keep arguing with Shu. He just wasn't built for this kind of back and forth. Although now part of the branch house, Hisashi had grown up receiving the most orthodox main house education. He stood no chance at all in verbal sparring against someone like Shu. Who'd gone through free public education and then hardened by battlefield experience. As far as Shu was concerned, any biting remarks from Hisashi barely registered. Zero impact. Why waste energy caring? Besides, what real difference remained between them anyway? Both were branch house members now. Just lesser dogs in the eyes of the main house, distinguished only by how close their bloodline was. So, despite swallowing his pride and anger under Shu's provocations, Hisashi resolved to give Shu a proper lesson using his gentle fist techniques on the training ground. At least 1 hour of pressure point paralysis. That was the harshest punishment he could even imagine. Training field number 4 in the Hyuga district was a medium-sized martial arts arena mainly used for taijutsu practice. Therefore, it wasn't frequently used by students attending the Hyuga Public Academy. When Shu and Hisashi arrived, they found themselves completely alone. Even so, Shu sensed countless invisible gazes fixated upon himself and Hisashi. Seems the branch house isn't as well behaved as it looks, he thought. Looking around, Shu saw no physical presence, but realized many Hyuga were secretly observing the current events unfold. Perhaps some might even try to peek and learn a few moves of the gentle fist techniques while at it. However, Shu's Byakugan vision was rather mediocre. He could only sense others watching him without determining their directions or exact locations, so he decided not to dwell on it. Besides, Hisashi too appeared calm and oblivious to it all. Shu figured there was no need to make a fuss over something unavoidable anyway. After all, through a Hyuga's Byakugan, everyone just looked like bare skeletons with chakra running through their bodies. So let them stare all they want. Brother Hisashi, how long do you plan to train? Shu gave his neck a rough twist sideways and popped his knuckles loudly. A habit common among crude brute force martial artists. Hisashi frowned at once. Disgusting. Hisashi snapped without hesitation. And to haggle over terms before even warming up. Totally unacceptable. Hey. Hyuga. Shu smirked disdainfully, completely disregarding Hisashi's words. I have a date with Miharu-chan this afternoon, so I can't spend too much time with your lonely singleton. But I suppose honored Hisashi wouldn't understand such feelings anyway. After all, those connected to the main house had their marriages arranged. Even present-day Hisashi Hyuga, who had already been branded with the caged bird, Tenketsu, curse seal, was no exception. Hisashi couldn't help but become furious. Though he desperately wanted to argue that ninjas had no need for anti-romance, he was still young at heart. Deep down, he also secretly dreamed of those classic romantic moments beneath blossoming trees and moonlight. After all,